Tonight, we will explore the quiet economic shifts that occur when new technologies are introduced into the world. We will look at how economies and societies adapt over time, and how individuals can prepare for a changing financial future. If you find these episodes helpful, you might consider subscribing to the channel. We always enjoy seeing comments about where in the world you are listening from. Economic history is a slow, steady story of technological change. Each new tool, from the printing press to the steam engine, has introduced a period of adjustment. Today, we are in the early stages of another such adjustment, this one guided by the development of artificial intelligence. To understand its potential effects, we can begin by looking at a concept known as a productivity shock. This term describes a moment when a new invention or method allows for a significant increase in output without a corresponding increase in the resources or inputs used. Imagine a small pottery studio where a single artisan can shape 5 clay pots in a day. If a new automated potter's wheel is introduced that can help shape 15 pots in the same amount of time, with the same amount of clay and effort, that is a productivity shock. The studio's capacity has tripled, changing the fundamental economics of its operation. This increase in efficiency naturally leads to a process called labor displacement. This does not mean an abrupt end to work, but rather a reallocation of human tasks. When a new technology automates a specific set of routine actions, the people who previously performed those actions are free to focus on other things. In our pottery studio, the artisan no longer needs to spend the majority of their time on the repetitive physical work of shaping the pots. Instead, their role might shift. They may now spend their time developing new designs, mixing unique glazes, managing the kiln, or teaching apprentices how to use the new equipment. The core task has been displaced by technology, but the artisan's skill and knowledge are reallocated to more complex, creative, or supervisory work that the machine cannot perform. This has been a recurring pattern throughout history. The mechanization of farming, for instance, shifted millions of workers from fields into factories and offices over several generations. As these shifts occur over many years and across many industries, they can contribute to a phenomenon called wage polarization. This is a gradual divergence in the value placed on different types of skills. As AI and automation become more capable of handling routine, predictable, and analytical tasks, the kind of work that often occupies the middle skill, middle income range, the demand for labor tends to grow at the two opposite ends of the spectrum. On one end, there is an increased need for high-level cognitive skills, creativity, strategic planning, complex problem-solving, and the expertise required to design and manage the new AI systems. On the other end, demand often remains strong for service jobs that require manual dexterity, in-person interaction, and emotional intelligence, tasks that are still very difficult to automate. Over time, this can lead to a gentle widening of the gap between the compensation for high-skill abstract work, low-skill manual work, and the now automated work in the middle. In summary, the introduction of a powerful new technology like AI begins with a productivity shock, a fundamental change in how much can be accomplished. This change prompts a slow reallocation of human labor, as automated systems take on certain tasks and people move to others. This reallocation, in turn, can gradually influence the economic value of different skills, leading to a polarization of wages. These are not sudden events, but slow, unfolding processes that take shape over decades. Understanding them is the first step in seeing the path forward. These economic ripples are just the beginning of the story, setting the stage for a period of adaptation, where new kinds of work emerge and the focus shifts toward uniquely human capabilities. This gentle rebalancing of the labor market does not happen in isolation. It ripples outward, subtly altering the structure of our global economic systems. For generations, the world economy has been organized around intricate supply chains, with different stages of production located in different countries to take advantage of specific strengths, often related to the cost of labor. The assembly of a smartphone, for example, might involve design in one country, component manufacturing in several others, and final assembly in yet another. This system, known as a global value chain, was built on a foundation where human labor for routine tasks was a key variable in determining cost and location. As artificial intelligence begins to automate these routine tasks, the logic that underpins this system begins to change. When the cost of labor is no longer the primary factor, the calculations for where to produce goods shift. A highly automated factory can operate almost as efficiently in a high-wage country as in a low-wage one. This can lead to a process called reshoring or nearshoring, where companies slowly begin to move their manufacturing and service operations closer to their main consumer markets. This is not a sudden reversal, but a gradual reevaluation of efficiency and risk. A shorter supply chain is often more resilient to disruptions, and locating production closer to designers and engineers can foster quicker innovation. The intricate web of global trade begins to be redrawn, not through dramatic events, but through thousands of quiet individual business decisions made over many years, all influenced by the new capabilities of technology. This quiet shift also changes the nature of work itself. It becomes less about entire jobs being replaced and more about specific tasks within those jobs being automated. A graphic designer, for instance, may find that I can generate dozens of initial concepts in minutes, a task that once took hours of manual effort. This doesn't eliminate the need for the designer. Instead, it elevates their role. Their value now lies less in the mechanical act of creation and more in their ability to guide the AI, to select the best concepts, to refine the details with a human touch, and to understand the nuanced needs of a client. The focus of their work shifts from production to curation, strategy, and quality control. The skills that become most valuable are those that complement the technology: critical thinking, emotional intelligence, creative direction, and complex communication. In essence, the economic system begins to place a higher premium on uniquely human abilities. While machines excel at processing vast amounts of data and executing predictable tasks, they do not possess genuine understanding, empathy, or the ability to navigate complex social situations. The value of a project manager may increasingly lie in their ability to motivate a team and resolve interpersonal conflicts. A doctor's expertise might be augmented by an AI that can analyze medical scans with incredible accuracy, freeing the doctor to spend more time on patient consultation, diagnosis, and developing a holistic treatment plan. The technology becomes a powerful tool, and the human becomes the skilled operator of that tool. This redefinition of work is a slow and incremental process. It is a quiet reordering of the global economic landscape and a gentle reshaping of the skills that are most rewarded. As automated systems handle more of the routine, the space for human ingenuity and connection expands. This is the underlying pattern of adaptation that has defined every major technological transition in history. It is a gradual journey toward a new equilibrium between human talent and machine efficiency. To navigate the changes ahead, it helps to have a clear and calm understanding of the technology itself. The term, artificial intelligence, can feel abstract, but in the context of modern work, it is more practical to think of it not as a single entity, but as a collection of specialized tools. Much like a woodworker's workshop contains different tools for different tasks: a saw for cutting, a lathe for turning, sandpaper for smoothing. The field of AI contains distinct systems designed for specific functions. Each has its own purpose and operates according to a simple underlying principle: pattern recognition. One of the most common tools is machine learning. This is a process where a computer system is trained on a vast amount of data to identify patterns and make predictions. Imagine teaching a system to recognize a specific type of flower. One would show it thousands of pictures of that flower from different angles and in different lighting conditions. The system analyzes the pixels, colors, and shapes, gradually learning the statistical patterns that define the flower. It does not understand what a flower is, but it becomes exceptionally good at identifying one in a new photograph. In the workplace, this same process is used for tasks like sorting emails into categories, detecting fraudulent transactions, or identifying tiny defects on a manufacturing line. It is a tool for classification and prediction based on historical data. Another important tool is the large language model, or LLM. This is a form of machine learning specifically trained on an immense library of text and code. By analyzing trillions of words and sentences from books, articles, and websites, the model learns the intricate patterns of human language. It learns which words are likely to appear together and in what sequence. This allows it to perform tasks like summarizing a long document, translating between languages, or generating a draft for an email. When it creates a sentence, it is not thinking or expressing an idea. It is assembling a sequence of words that is statistically probable based on the patterns it has absorbed. It is a sophisticated tool for manipulating and generating language. These tools are often combined to create what is known as generative AI. This refers to any system that can generate new content, be it text, images, music, or code, that is similar to the data it was trained on. A designer might use a generative AI to create a dozen initial logo ideas, or a musician might use one to compose a simple background melody. In each case, the AI is not creating from a place of inspiration, but from a mathematical understanding of the patterns in its training data. It serves as a starting point, a collaborator that can produce a rough draft or a set of options for a human expert to refine and perfect. In essence, these forms of AI are advanced computational systems designed to recognize and replicate patterns. They are tools that excel at specific, data-driven tasks, identifying, classifying, predicting, and generating. Understanding them in this way, as specialized instruments rather than as generalized intelligences, removes the mystique. They are the next evolution in a long line of technologies designed to assist with human work, and their integration into our daily routines is a quiet and gradual process. They are becoming another set of tools in the workshop. The integration of these new tools into the economy follows a pattern that has repeated itself throughout history. These technological shifts are not new phenomena, and looking at their precedents provides a calm and steadying context. The early 20th century, for instance, saw a profound transformation in agriculture with the widespread adoption of the gasoline-powered tractor. Before this, farming was an intensely manual process. A single farm required a large number of people to plow fields, plant seeds, cultivate crops, and harvest the yield, often with the help of draft animals. The rhythm of life for a vast portion of the population was tied directly to these physical, seasonal tasks. The tractor, a simple and powerful machine, introduced a productivity shock on a massive scale. A single person operating a tractor could plow more land in a day than a team of people and animals could in a week. This single piece of machinery automated the most labor-intensive aspects of farming. As tractors and other mechanized equipment like combine harvesters became more common and affordable, the demand for agricultural labor began to steadily decline. This was not an overnight event, but a slow, generational shift. Each year, fewer hands were needed to produce the same amount of food, and eventually, far more food. The labor displaced from the farms was gradually reallocated. This migration of human effort fueled the growth of other sectors of the economy. The same people who might have once worked a field found new roles in the expanding manufacturing industries, building the very tractors that had changed their former way of life, or assembling automobiles, radios, and other new consumer goods. They became mechanics, electricians, and factory supervisors. This transition also created a need for an entirely new class of administrative and service workers. Accountants to manage the books of these growing companies, clerks to handle paperwork, and telephone operators to connect the newly wired world. Entirely new professions emerged that would have been difficult to imagine just a generation before. The skills that were valued began to change. While physical strength and agricultural knowledge were once paramount, the new economy placed a greater premium on mechanical aptitude, literacy, and the ability to work within a structured organizational setting. Society adapted. Educational systems slowly shifted to prepare people for these new types of work. The economy did not shrink. It transformed. It became more complex, more productive, and capable of supporting a wider variety of roles. In essence, a technology designed to automate physical labor created the conditions for a new economy centered on mechanical and cognitive skills. The historical precedent is a quiet one. Technology changes the nature of tasks, which in turn changes the nature of jobs. Over time, the labor market rebalances itself around the new tools, and human ingenuity finds new avenues for expression and contribution. This cycle of automation, displacement, and the subsequent creation of new and different work is a fundamental process of economic evolution. The gradual adoption of artificial intelligence tools will not be uniform across all parts of the economy. Instead, it will be a quiet, selective process, shaped by the specific nature of the tasks that define different kinds of work. Certain sectors and roles are more susceptible to this integration, simply because the tasks they involve align closely with the current capabilities of AI. The defining characteristic of these tasks is not their complexity, but their predictability and reliance on structured data. First are the roles centered on routine information processing. This includes a wide range of administrative and data entry work, where the primary function is to take information in one format and organize it into another according to a set of rules. Consider the process of handling invoices in a large company. An accounts payable clerk might receive hundreds of invoices a day, each needing to be checked for accuracy, matched with a purchase order, and entered into an accounting system. This is a repetitive, rule-based process. An AI system can be trained to recognize the layout of different invoices, extract the relevant numbers, perform the matching, and flag any discrepancies. Its ability to perform this structured task quickly and consistently makes it a natural tool for this function. A second category involves the synthesis and analysis of large volumes of data. Many professions require individuals to sift through extensive information to find specific patterns or pieces of evidence. For example, a paralegal might spend weeks conducting discovery, reading through thousands of documents to identify every mention of a particular keyword or clause. Similarly, a junior market analyst might compile data from dozens of reports to produce a summary of consumer trends. Large language models are exceptionally well suited to this kind of work. They can process and read vast libraries of text in a fraction of the time, identifying relevant passages and summarizing key findings without fatigue. The human role then shifts from the manual search to the interpretation and strategic application of the information the AI has gathered. Finally, the initial stages of certain creative and content generation roles are also seeing AI integration. This is particularly true for work that is formulaic or requires the production of a high volume of standardized content. For instance, writing basic product descriptions for an e-commerce website, creating simple graphical elements for social media posts, or even drafting routine internal communications often follows a predictable template. Generative AI can produce multiple versions of this type of content almost instantly, providing a first draft that a human writer or designer can then refine, personalize, and elevate with their own expertise and creative judgment. In all these cases, the common thread is a foundation of predictable patterns and structured processes. It is not that these jobs are simple, but that their core tasks can be broken down into a series of logical steps that an AI can learn and replicate. Understanding this allows us to see the shift not as a threat, but as a clear and predictable evolution, where tools are being developed to handle the most repetitive aspects of work, creating space for people to focus on tasks that require deeper thought, nuanced judgment, and genuine human connection. As some tasks become automated, a quiet and corresponding process of creation begins. The introduction of any significant new tool has always been accompanied by the emergence of entirely new job categories, and even whole industries that did not exist before. This is not a sudden invention of new roles, but a gradual unfolding of new needs and possibilities that the technology itself makes apparent. These new forms of work typically fall into three distinct categories. The first and most direct category includes roles dedicated to building, maintaining, and guiding the artificial intelligence systems themselves. Just as the invention of the automobile created the need for mechanics and road engineers, AI has created a need for specialized technicians. One such role is the AI trainer or data curator. These individuals act like librarians for the AI, carefully selecting, labeling, and organizing the vast amounts of information the systems learn from. Their meticulous work ensures the AI is trained on high-quality, unbiased data, which is fundamental to its performance. Another new role is that of the prompt engineer, a person who becomes an expert in communicating with a specific AI model. They learn how to craft instructions and questions in a way that elicits the most accurate, relevant, and useful responses, acting as a skilled translator between human intention and machine process. The second category consists of roles that are not new, but are significantly augmented or enhanced by AI. These are existing professions that evolve to incorporate AI as a central tool, allowing professionals to focus on higher-level aspects of their work. For example, a city planner might use an AI simulation to model traffic flow and pedestrian movement with a level of detail previously impossible. The AI performs the complex calculations, freeing the planner to focus on the creative and social aspects of designing a public space. Similarly, a materials scientist can use AI to predict the properties of millions of potential new chemical compounds, dramatically accelerating the discovery of new materials for everything from batteries to medicine. The scientist's role shifts from manual experimentation to guiding the AI's search and interpreting its findings. The third category is the most forward-looking, the creation of entirely new industries and services that are only possible because of AI's capabilities. We are in the very early stages of seeing these emerge. One area is hyper-personalized services. Imagine a personalized education system where an AI tutor adapts its teaching style and pace in real time to match a student's individual learning patterns, with a human educator overseeing the process and providing mentorship. Another is in preventative healthcare, where AI systems analyze continuous data from wearable devices to identify subtle health risks long before symptoms appear, enabling a new class of health coaches to guide individuals toward better wellness outcomes. In summary, the evolution of work is a dual process of displacement and creation. New roles are born directly from the need to manage the technology, existing roles are elevated by its application, and entirely new fields of human endeavor are unlocked. This has been the consistent, quiet pattern of technological progress throughout history, a slow and steady expansion of what is possible. The economic changes brought by new technology do not announce themselves loudly. They arrive as subtle, gradual shifts in the everyday financial landscape, touching first upon the balance between what a person earns and what their money can buy. These initial ripple effects on wages and disposable income are not sudden events, but a slow and steady recalibration of value within the economy. As new tools are adopted, the financial environment quietly adapts around them. The first part of this recalibration relates to wages in specific sectors. As we have seen, the demand for skills that are highly routine and predictable may soften as AI tools become more proficient at these tasks. In an economic system governed by supply and demand, this can lead to a period where wages for these particular roles grow more slowly than wages for roles requiring complex problem-solving, creativity, or interpersonal skills. This is not a universal reduction in income, but a differential rate of growth. It is a quiet rebalancing, much like in a hardware store where the price of a standard mass-produced screw might remain stable for years, while the price for a custom-forged, specialized bracket might increase to reflect the unique skill of the artisan who made it. At the same time, a powerful countercurrent begins to flow. The same productivity shock that influences wages also has a profound effect on the cost of goods and services. When artificial intelligence allows a company to design a product more efficiently, manage its inventory with perfect accuracy, or deliver a digital service at a fraction of the previous cost, those savings are often passed on to consumers in the form of lower prices. This exerts a gentle deflationary pressure on certain parts of the economy. The cost of a monthly software subscription, a custom piece of graphic design, or a detailed data analysis report might decrease over time. This means that the purchasing power of each dollar can actually increase when spent on these specific, technology-enhanced items. These two forces, the shifting landscape of wages and the falling cost of certain goods, combine to reshape the nature of disposable income. This is the amount of money an individual or household has to spend or save after income taxes and essential expenses are paid. If the cost of certain digital tools and services decreases, it can free up a portion of a household's budget. This doesn't necessarily change the total income, but it alters how that income is allocated. More resources may become available for spending on things that are not easily automated. Locally grown food, hands-on educational experiences for children, or services that require a high degree of human trust, like personal coaching or therapeutic care. In summary, the initial financial ripple effect is a quiet and complex interplay of factors. It involves a potential moderation of wage growth for some types of work, counterbalanced by a decrease in the cost of goods and services produced with high levels of automation. This gently alters the purchasing power of individuals and begins to shift spending patterns away from newly commoditized items and toward uniquely human experiences and skills. This subtle adjustment in the flow of income and expenses is the first step in the process of personal financial adaptation. The economic ripples we have been observing do not stop at national borders. They spread outward, gently influencing the vast, interconnected system of global trade that has defined the modern world. For decades, the flow of goods across the planet has been governed by a clear logic. Production was often located where labor for specific tasks was most cost-effective. This created incredibly long and complex supply chains. A single product, like a household appliance, might have its components manufactured on 3 different continents, assembled on a 4th, and finally shipped to consumers around the world. The journey of this object was a testament to a global system optimized for minimizing labor costs. Artificial intelligence and advanced automation introduce a new variable into this long-established equation. When a significant portion of the assembly process can be handled by sophisticated robotics, guided by AI, the cost of labor becomes a much less significant factor. An automated assembly line costs roughly the same to operate in a high-wage country as it does in a low-wage one. The primary incentive for offshoring routine manufacturing tasks begins to fade. This doesn't trigger a sudden collapse of global trade, but rather a quiet, deliberate reevaluation of where things are made and why. This reevaluation often leads to a gradual shortening of supply chains. A company might find that it is now more efficient to build a highly automated factory closer to its primary market. This process, sometimes called reshoring, changes the geography of production. The new logic is based not on labor costs, but on factors like resilience, speed, and quality control. A shorter supply chain is less vulnerable to disruptions from international shipping delays or geopolitical events. It also allows a company to be more responsive to changes in consumer demand, as products do not have to travel for weeks across an ocean. The flow of goods becomes less about a long, meandering global journey, and more about regional hubs of production serving local markets. This also subtly changes the very nature of what is traded. As the production of standardized physical goods becomes more localized through automation, international trade may shift even more toward things that cannot be easily replicated. This includes highly specialized components that require unique expertise, raw materials that are only found in certain parts of the world, and, increasingly, digital goods and services. A country's competitive advantage might become less about its manufacturing workforce and more about its expertise in designing AI systems, its creative talent in media and entertainment, or its research and development in new technologies. Trade in intellectual property, software licenses, and complex engineering services becomes more prominent. In essence, the dynamics of global trade are slowly rebalancing. The old model, built on long chains to access inexpensive labor, is gradually giving way to a new model built on shorter chains to leverage technology and increase resilience. It is a quiet shift from a system that moved pieces around the world for assembly to one that moves knowledge and specialized resources, with final production happening much closer to home. This is the calm, logical evolution of a global system adapting to a new set of tools. In any period of significant economic change, the labor market undergoes a quiet and orderly process of adjustment. To understand this process, it is helpful to look at different types of unemployment not as a singular issue, but as distinct phenomena with different causes. One of these is called structural unemployment. This is not related to the regular ups and downs of the business cycle, but rather to a fundamental shift in the structure of the economy itself. It arises when there is a mismatch between the skills that workers possess and the skills that employers need. Imagine a coastal town whose economy has been built around a specific type of fishing for generations. The residents are experts in using a particular kind of net and navigating local currents. Then, due to a slow, long-term change in ocean temperatures, the fish they traditionally caught migrate away, and a new, different species becomes abundant. This new species requires a different method of fishing, perhaps using lines and hooks instead of nets. The town may have a strong demand for skilled line and hook fishers, but the existing workforce is skilled in net fishing. There are jobs available, and there are people who want to work, but their skills no longer align with the available roles. This gap is structural unemployment. It is a problem of mismatch, not a problem of a lack of work. The gradual integration of artificial intelligence into the economy can create a similar kind of mismatch on a much broader scale. As AI tools automate routine analytical and administrative tasks, the demand for skills related to manual data entry or basic report generation may soften. At the same time, the economy begins to generate a strong demand for new skills. People who can train AI models, who can design complex prompts to get the best results, or who can provide the high-level strategic oversight that these systems require. This creates a period of transition where the workforce as a whole needs to adapt its skill set to the new structure of the economy. This is a predictable and well-documented aspect of every major technological shift. The transition from an agricultural to an industrial economy created structural unemployment for farm laborers whose skills were in less demand, while creating a need for factory workers and mechanics. The process is a quiet signal from the economy that the value of different skills is being recalibrated. It highlights the areas where new learning and training are becoming most important. In summary, structural unemployment is the temporary gap that appears when the shape of the economy changes. It is a mismatch between the skills people have and the skills the new economy requires. It is not a sign of economic failure, but a natural and expected consequence of innovation and progress. Understanding this concept provides a clear framework for seeing where the opportunities for adaptation and growth lie, pointing the way toward the new skills that will define the work of the future. As the economic landscape is reshaped by new technologies, the value assigned to different types of contributions naturally begins to diverge. This process can lead to a gentle widening of the gap between the economic outcomes for different skill sets, and eventually between the returns on labor and the returns on capital. This is not a new phenomenon, but a recurring pattern observed during periods of significant technological advancement. First, a skills gap can emerge. This is a direct consequence of the wage polarization we discussed earlier. As the demand for certain skills, particularly those that can be automated, begins to soften, the compensation for those skills may grow at a slower rate. Conversely, the skills that complement the new technology, such as strategic thinking, creative problem-solving, and the ability to manage complex AI systems, become more scarce and therefore more valuable. This creates a divergence. Imagine two craftspeople in a furniture workshop. One specializes in sanding wood by hand, a repetitive and physically demanding task. The other specializes in creating intricate, original designs and programming a new robotic carving machine to execute them. As the workshop adopts more automation, the demand and compensation for the designer's unique skills will likely grow faster than for the manual sander. Over many years and across an entire economy, this creates a wider space between the highest and lowest valued skills. Alongside this, there can be a corresponding shift in how the wealth generated by increased productivity is distributed. Economic gains from a new technology flow in two primary directions: to labor in the form of wages, and to capital in the form of profits for the owners of the technology. When a technology primarily augments labor, making workers more productive at their existing tasks, A large portion of the gains tends to flow to those workers as higher wages. However, when a technology automates tasks, replacing human labor, a larger share of the productivity gains may flow to the owners of the capital, that is, the owners of the automated systems. Consider a taxi company that replaces its entire fleet of human-driven cars with a fleet of self-driving vehicles. The company's efficiency and profits might increase significantly. A portion of these gains would be reinvested in maintaining and upgrading the new fleet, creating new jobs for specialized technicians. However, the income that previously went to a large number of drivers as wages is now redirected, with a significant portion becoming profit for the owners of the autonomous vehicle company. This is a simple mechanical shift in the distribution of revenue. When this pattern is repeated across many industries over a long period, it can contribute to a wider gap between the growth of wealth derived from capital ownership and wealth derived from labor alone. In essence, these two gaps, one of skills, one of wealth, are two sides of the same quiet, structural change. A skills gap reflects the changing value of different types of human work, while a wealth gap reflects the changing distribution of the economic rewards generated by new tools. Understanding these slow-moving dynamics is not a cause for concern, but a necessary step in preparing for a future where adaptability and continuous learning become the cornerstones of financial well-being. While the reallocation of labor is a significant part of the economic story, it is driven by a more fundamental process, a profound enhancement of productivity. The primary role of artificial intelligence in the economy, when viewed from a distance, is to serve as a powerful engine for growth. It achieves this not through a single action, but through several quiet and overlapping mechanisms that make the entire economic system more efficient and capable. The first and most direct mechanism is the automation of routine tasks. In nearly every profession, there is a component of work that is necessary but repetitive. An architect might spend a considerable amount of time ensuring their blueprints comply with hundreds of local building codes. An AI tool can perform this compliance check instantly, cross-referencing the design against a database of regulations and flagging any potential issues. This does not replace the architect. It frees them. The time they would have spent on the methodical, rule-based checking is now available for the more creative and complex aspects of their job. Consulting with clients, developing innovative structural solutions, or refining the aesthetic quality of the building. This simple act of offloading routine work, when multiplied across millions of workers, represents a significant increase in the total amount of high-level, creative, and strategic work the economy can produce. The second mechanism is the optimization of complex systems. Modern economies are built on vast, interconnected networks, supply chains that circle the globe, electrical grids that power entire continents, and financial markets that process billions of transactions a second. Optimizing these systems is a task of immense complexity, and AI can see patterns in these vast data sets that are invisible to the human eye. It can analyze real-time shipping data to reroute cargo around a storm, adjust energy distribution based on predicted weather changes, or identify subtle inefficiencies in a factory's workflow. Each small adjustment, each optimized process, contributes to a reduction in waste, a lowering of costs, and an increase in overall output. The system as a whole begins to operate more smoothly and efficiently. The third mechanism is the acceleration of discovery and innovation. Many of the most significant advances in science and technology are the result of a long, slow process of trial and error. AI can dramatically shorten this process. In medical research, an AI can analyze genetic data to identify potential drug candidates far faster than traditional methods. In materials science, it can simulate the properties of new compounds, helping to invent stronger, lighter, or more sustainable materials. By serving as a tireless research assistant, AI allows scientists and engineers to test hypotheses and explore new possibilities at an unprecedented scale and speed. In essence, AI contributes to economic growth by freeing human talent for more valuable work, by making our existing systems run more efficiently, and by speeding up the very process of invention. This collective increase in productivity is what ultimately expands the economy. It creates more value, more resources, and more wealth within the system, laying a quiet foundation for the new jobs and industries that will define the future. The rise in productivity driven by artificial intelligence has a direct and quiet consequence on the price of everyday goods and services. As it becomes more efficient to produce things, a gentle downward pressure begins to be exerted on their cost. This process, known as deflationary pressure, is a natural outcome of technological progress and a key mechanism through which the benefits of automation are shared across the entire economy. At its core, the price of any item is a reflection of the costs required to create and deliver it. These costs include raw materials, energy, and the human labor involved in design, manufacturing, logistics, and sales. When AI is introduced into this process, it systematically reduces many of these input costs. For example, in a factory, an AI-powered system can optimize the use of raw materials, calculating the most efficient way to cut shapes from a sheet of metal to minimize waste. It can manage the building's energy consumption, dimming lights and adjusting thermostats in unoccupied areas, thereby lowering utility bills. Most significantly, by automating tasks, it reduces the number of labor hours required to produce each unit. As a company's internal costs decrease, it is faced with a choice. It can maintain its prices and enjoy a higher profit margin, or it can lower its prices to become more competitive. In a healthy market, competition ensures that at least some of these savings are eventually passed on to the consumer. If one company uses AI to produce a high-quality desk for 20% less, it can lower its price to attract more customers. Competing desk manufacturers are then incentivized to adopt similar technologies and lower their prices as well in order to retain their market share. This is a slow and organic process, a quiet cascade of efficiency gains being translated into consumer savings. This effect is most pronounced in the realm of digital goods and services. The cost to produce a second copy of a software program, a digital image, or a piece of music is virtually zero. When AI can generate the initial version of these products with minimal human intervention, their price can fall dramatically. They become more abundant and accessible. For physical goods, the effect is more muted, as the cost of raw materials and transportation remains, but the downward pressure is still present. Over time, the cost of many items that make up a household budget, from entertainment and education to electronics and professional services, may begin to stabilize or even decline. In simple terms, automation makes things cheaper to make, and competition makes them cheaper to buy. This is not a sudden drop in prices, but a gradual and persistent trend that unfolds over many years. The result is a quiet increase in the purchasing power of money. Each dollar or euro or yen can slowly begin to acquire more value. This deflationary pressure is the other side of the productivity coin, a gentle economic current that works to raise the standard of living by making the fruits of our technological progress more accessible to everyone. The large-scale economic shifts brought about by artificial intelligence are observed and managed by quiet, steady institutions at the heart of the financial system. Central banks, the organizations responsible for maintaining a country's monetary and financial stability, have long operated based on a predictable set of economic relationships. Their primary task is often a dual mandate: to keep prices stable, avoiding high inflation, and to foster conditions for maximum sustainable employment. Their main tool for this delicate balancing act has been the adjustment of interest rates, a single lever used to gently cool down or stimulate the economy. As AI changes the underlying mechanics of growth and prices, the logic that guides these institutions must also slowly and deliberately adapt. For much of the past half-century, the primary challenge for central banks was controlling inflation, the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising. Their models were built on the assumption that a growing economy with low unemployment would naturally lead to higher wages, which in turn would push prices up. However, the powerful deflationary pressure of automation introduces a new and persistent force into this equation. When technology consistently makes it cheaper to produce goods and deliver services, it acts as a constant, gentle brake on inflation. This changes the nature of the central bank's task. Instead of always worrying about the economy overheating, they may find themselves in a world where low, stable, or even slightly falling prices are a sign of healthy technological progress, not economic weakness. This new reality requires a shift in how they interpret economic signals. The traditional link between unemployment and inflation, a cornerstone of economic policy, may become less reliable. In an economy where a company can significantly increase its output by deploying new AI tools rather than hiring more people, a low unemployment rate no longer sends the same clear signal about future price pressures. The economy might be able to grow much faster than previously thought without triggering a surge in inflation. Central bankers must therefore develop new frameworks for understanding the economy's speed limit or its potential growth rate. They can no longer rely on a single dashboard gauge. They need a more complex and nuanced set of instruments. In response, these institutions will likely evolve their approach. Their analysis will need to become more granular, looking not just at the headline unemployment number, but at the changing composition of the labor market, the growth of wages in different sectors, and the rate of productivity gains themselves. They may need to become more patient, allowing for periods of rapid, non-inflationary growth fueled by technology. Their policy decisions will be based less on historical precedents and more on a careful, real-time reading of a fundamentally new economic structure. In essence, the quiet, methodical work of central banking will adapt to the new tools shaping the economy. The fundamental goal of stability remains the same, but the path to achieving it will change. This is not a sudden upheaval, but a gradual and thoughtful recalibration of the systems that guide our economic weather. It is a process of learning and adjustment, ensuring that the frameworks used to manage the economy evolve in concert with the technology that powers it. The persistent, gentle downward pressure on prices from technology does not mean that inflation disappears entirely. Instead, its character begins to change, becoming a more complex and nuanced force within the economy. The future of inflation in a highly automated world is likely to be a story of two distinct and opposing trends, creating a new kind of price landscape that we will all navigate. On one side, the deflationary force of technology will likely continue and deepen. As we have seen, automation and AI are exceptionally good at reducing the cost of producing anything that is replicable and scalable. The price of digital goods, software, entertainment, and data processing will continue its quiet descent toward near zero. The cost of manufactured physical goods, from household appliances to vehicles, will also feel this downward pressure as factories become more automated and supply chains more efficient. This side of the economy is defined by abundance. Technology makes it possible to create more of these goods, more cheaply, for more people. On the other side, however, inflationary pressures will likely re-emerge and concentrate in areas that are fundamentally resistant to the efficiencies of automation. The first of these areas is scarce physical resources. The physical world has finite limits. The raw materials needed to build and power our technological infrastructure, rare earth metals for electronics, copper for wiring, lithium for batteries, are subject to classic dynamics of supply and demand. Land, particularly in desirable locations, is also in fixed supply. As the global economy grows, the demand for these finite resources may rise, pushing up their prices. The second area of potential inflation is in uniquely human services. The cost of a haircut from a skilled barber, a handcrafted piece of furniture, or personalized care from a dedicated nurse is tied directly to the time and expertise of a single person. These services cannot be easily scaled or replicated by a machine. As other parts of the economy become more productive and generate more wealth, the demand for these high-touch, personalized human services may increase. This could lead to rising wages for these roles, and consequently, rising prices for the services they provide. This is the economy of human connection and skilled craftsmanship, defined by its inherent scarcity. In this new landscape, the overall inflation rate that is reported in the news becomes an average of these two opposing forces. It is the story of digital abundance meeting physical and human scarcity. The cost of things, especially those made by machines, may fall, while the cost of experiences, scarce resources, and specialized human attention may rise. The cost of living will no longer be a uniform number, but a mosaic of different trends. This evolving nature of inflation is simply a reflection of what the new economy values most. Understanding this quiet rebalancing is a key part of adapting to the financial world of tomorrow. The vast network that moves objects around our world, the global supply chain, has long been a quiet marvel of coordination. For any given product, from a simple t-shirt to a complex piece of electronics, its journey from raw material to finished good has been a long and winding one. Cotton grown in one country might be spun into thread in another, woven into fabric in a third, and sewn into a garment in a fourth, all before being shipped thousands of miles to a final store. This intricate global dance was choreographed by a single, simple principle: finding the lowest possible cost for each individual step, which often meant finding the place with the most cost-effective human labor for a specific task. The integration of automation and artificial intelligence introduces a new kind of choreography, one based on efficiency and resilience rather than labor cost alone. The impact is felt at every link in the chain. Inside a modern warehouse, for instance, the process of fulfilling an order is no longer solely a human one. Autonomous robots glide silently through aisles, guided by an AI system that knows the location of every single item. This system can calculate the most efficient path to retrieve a product, bring it to a packing station, and update the inventory in real time. The result is a process that is not only faster but also significantly more accurate, reducing errors and waste. This same intelligence is then applied to the journey itself. Logistics and shipping, once a matter of fixed schedules and routes, are becoming dynamic, data-driven systems. An AI platform can analyze a constant stream of information: weather forecasts across the ocean, congestion levels at major ports, fuel prices, and even political events. It can then calculate the optimal route for a container ship in real time, making subtle adjustments to its course and speed to avoid delays and save fuel. The long, uncertain voyage becomes a predictable and highly optimized transit. Perhaps the most significant change is the one happening to manufacturing itself. The logic of needing a single, massive factory in a low-wage country begins to fade as automation advances. In its place, we see the rise of smaller, highly automated production facilities located much closer to the end consumer. These micro-factories can use robotics and 3D printing to produce goods on demand. This shortens the supply chain from thousands of miles to just a few hundred or even a few dozen. It reduces the need for long-distance shipping and large inventories, making the entire system less fragile and more responsive to local needs. In essence, the supply chain is transforming from a long, rigid, and slow-moving line into a smart, flexible, and responsive network. The guiding principle is shifting from a singular focus on labor cost to a more balanced consideration of speed, accuracy, and resilience. This is a quiet and practical evolution, a re-engineering of the world's commercial plumbing to make it more efficient, predictable, and robust in the face of change. The way an economy produces goods is deeply intertwined with the way its people consume them. As automation and artificial intelligence change the fundamental economics of making things, they also trigger a slow and subtle shift in our collective patterns of consumption. These changes are not driven by any grand plan, but by the accumulation of millions of individual choices, as people quietly adapt their habits to a new landscape of price and value. The first and most direct change is a move away from simple accumulation and toward personalization. When the cost of mass-produced goods falls due to efficient, automated manufacturing, the value of simply owning more things begins to diminish. The focus of consumption gently shifts. Instead of owning a standard factory-made bookshelf, a person might use an online design tool assisted by AI to create a custom-sized and styled unit that perfectly fits their space. This design is then sent to a local, automated workshop to be fabricated. The final product is no longer just a commodity, it is a personalized object. This pattern repeats across many areas, from clothing to electronics, as consumption becomes less about quantity and more about a precise and personal fit with one's individual needs and tastes. As the portion of a household budget required for these increasingly affordable goods decreases, it frees up resources for other things. This leads to the second major shift: a growing preference for experiences over objects. The value of things that cannot be easily automated or replicated by a machine begins to rise. People may choose to spend their disposable income not on a new gadget, but on a meal at a restaurant known for its unique, locally sourced ingredients, a class to learn a new skill like pottery or a musical instrument, or travel to a place of natural beauty. This is a quiet rebalancing of priorities, where the economy begins to place a higher value on human connection, craftsmanship, and unique, memorable moments, the very things that lie outside the realm of digital replication. The third shift is a gradual move from a model of ownership to a model of access. For many objects, the value is not in owning the object itself, but in the service it provides. A car, for example, provides mobility. In a world with efficient, on-demand autonomous vehicle services, the need to own, insure, and maintain a personal car may decline for many people. They are not buying a car, they are subscribing to a transportation service. This service economy model can extend to many other areas. Instead of buying a large set of power tools that will be used only occasionally, a person might subscribe to a local tool library. This is a fundamental change in our relationship with physical objects, moving from individual possession to shared, on-demand access. In summary, the consumption patterns of a highly automated economy naturally evolve. The focus shifts from mass accumulation to personalization, from physical objects to human experiences, and from individual ownership to shared access. These are not dramatic or sudden changes, but a slow and logical adaptation to a world where technology provides abundance, freeing us to seek value in things that are uniquely and irreplaceably human. As economies evolve, societies have always developed new systems to ensure stability and widespread participation. In the context of a highly productive, automated world, one of the concepts that is often discussed is a policy known as Universal Basic Income, or UBI. It is a simple and direct approach to creating a stable financial foundation for every member of a society. To understand it, we can quietly break it down into its three core components: universal, basic, and income. The first word, universal, means that the payment is provided to all citizens or residents of a country, regardless of their employment status, wealth, or social standing. It is an unconditional payment. This universality is a key feature of its design, as it simplifies administration. Instead of a complex system of applications, means testing, and eligibility checks, the process is streamlined. Just as a public library card is available to every resident, a UBI payment would be distributed to everyone in the designated population. This removes the administrative overhead and social stigma sometimes associated with traditional support systems. The second word, basic, refers to the amount of the payment. The goal is not to replace all other forms of income, but to provide a consistent, predictable floor that is sufficient to cover fundamental living expenses, such as housing, food, and utilities. The specific amount would vary depending on the local cost of living, but the principle remains the same. It is a safety net designed to ensure that everyone's most essential needs are met. It is intended to be a foundation upon which other income from work, entrepreneurship, or investments can be built, rather than a ceiling that limits ambition. The third word, income, specifies the form of the support. It is a direct cash payment, delivered at regular, predictable intervals, such as monthly. This distinguishes it from other forms of social support, like food vouchers or housing subsidies. The logic behind providing cash is that individuals are best equipped to understand their own needs and make their own financial decisions. One person might use the funds to pay for childcare in order to take a part-time job, while another might use it to cover tuition for a course to learn a new skill. The payment provides a stable resource that can be allocated with flexibility and autonomy. The financial framework for such a system is a subject of careful study. Various models have been proposed for how a UBI could be funded. Some frameworks suggest redirecting funds from existing, complex social programs into this single, more efficient system. Other models propose new forms of taxation that are designed to capture a portion of the vast wealth generated by automation and AI, such as a tax on the value created by automated systems or on the use of large-scale data. In essence, the concept of UBI is a simple one: a regular, unconditional cash payment to everyone, designed to create a stable financial floor in an increasingly productive and automated economy. It is one of many ideas being explored as a way to adapt our social structures to the quiet economic shifts of the future. The concept of a universal basic income is one of several thoughtful approaches being considered to adapt our social safety nets for a new economic era. Alongside it, other models are being explored, each with its own quiet logic and structure designed to create a stable financial environment. These alternative frameworks also focus on ensuring that the benefits of a more productive economy are shared, and in doing so, they have a direct effect on the steady and healthy circulation of money. One such alternative is a system known as a negative income tax. This model works by integrating the safety net directly into the existing tax system. In a standard tax system, if a person's income is above a certain threshold, they pay a percentage of it as tax to the government. A negative income tax simply extends this logic in the other direction. If a person's income falls below that same threshold, the government pays them a percentage of the difference. It is a quiet, automatic process. The same form used to file taxes could be used to receive a supplement, creating a smooth and efficient system that provides support to those who need it most without requiring a separate bureaucracy. It is a targeted way to establish a guaranteed minimum income, a financial floor below which no one can fall. Another approach is the creation of a social wealth fund. This is a large, collectively owned investment fund, operated on behalf of all citizens. The idea is based on the principle that the immense productivity gains from automation and AI are built upon a foundation of shared public knowledge and infrastructure, from government-funded research to the internet itself. A social wealth fund would seek to capture a small portion of the returns from these highly profitable automated sectors, perhaps through a specific tax on corporate profits or a requirement for large tech companies to contribute a share of their equity to the fund. The fund would then invest these resources in a diversified portfolio of assets, and the annual returns or dividends would be distributed equally to every citizen. It is a way of ensuring that everyone has a small stake in the automated economy, receiving a share of the capital gains, not just income from labor. Both of these models have a similar, gentle effect on the broader economy. By providing a stable financial base, particularly for lower and middle-income households, they ensure a consistent level of consumer spending. People with a secure financial floor are able to consistently pay for necessities like groceries, rent, and transportation. This creates a predictable and reliable stream of revenue for local businesses. This steady circulation of money acts as a stabilizing force, a gentle economic current that supports community enterprises and the jobs they provide. It ensures that the money generated by a highly productive economy does not pool in one place, but continues to flow, nurturing the entire economic ecosystem. The tools that shape our economy are not the only things that evolve. The very tools we use to measure and exchange value, our forms of money, also undergo a slow and quiet transformation to match the needs of the age. As society becomes more automated and digital, the nature of money itself is being thoughtfully re-examined, leading to the exploration of new financial systems designed for a more efficient and interconnected world. One of the most direct evolutions being considered is the concept of a central bank digital currency, often referred to as a CBDC. This is not a new or separate currency, but simply a digital version of the physical cash a country already uses. Just as a dollar bill or a euro coin is a direct liability of the central bank, a digital dollar or digital euro would be a token in a secure digital wallet that represents a direct claim on that same institution. This is a subtle but important distinction from the electronic money most people use today. When you see a balance in your commercial bank account, you are seeing a digital record of a private bank's promise to pay you. A CBDC, in contrast, would be the digital equivalent of holding a banknote, a direct and final form of settlement. The mechanics of such a system would be designed for simplicity and directness. An individual might have a digital wallet, an application on a phone or other device that is connected to the central bank's ledger. When a payment is made, the digital tokens would move instantly from one wallet to another. The transaction would be as immediate and final as handing a physical coin to a shopkeeper. This streamlined process could reduce the need for multiple intermediaries in every transaction, making the entire payment system more efficient and potentially lowering costs for both consumers and merchants. The true potential of such a system becomes apparent in a highly automated society. One key feature is the possibility of programmable money. This allows for simple rules to be embedded into a payment. For example, a government could distribute social support payments that are programmed to be redeemable only for essential goods like food or housing, ensuring the funds serve their intended purpose in a direct and efficient way. Another significant application is in facilitating micropayments. In a future where smart devices and AI systems interact constantly, they will need to conduct millions of tiny transactions. An autonomous car might need to pay a fraction of a cent for real-time traffic data, or a smart appliance might pay for a small amount of electricity during off-peak hours. A CBDC could enable this machine-to-machine economy to function seamlessly with near-zero transaction fees. In essence, the development of digital currencies is about upgrading the plumbing of our financial system. It is a quiet effort to create a form of money that is as fast, precise, and programmable as the automated world it will serve. This is a gradual evolution, a deliberate and careful process of redesigning our most fundamental economic tool to ensure it is fit for the quiet and efficient commerce of the future. The evolution of money is happening in parallel with a quiet transformation of the institutions that manage it. The everyday landscape of banking and payments, a world of ledgers, transactions, and accounts, is being gradually reshaped by the integration of artificial intelligence. This is not a dramatic overhaul, but a slow and steady upgrade of the background processes that underpin our financial lives, making them more secure, efficient, and responsive. One of the first and most widespread applications of AI in banking is in the area of security. Every day, the global financial system processes billions of transactions. Within this vast flow of data, AI systems act as silent guardians, constantly looking for patterns. A machine learning model is trained on a person's entire financial history, learning the unique rhythm of their spending habits, the time of day they typically buy groceries, the average amount they spend on fuel, the countries from which they usually make online purchases. The AI builds a detailed, statistical signature of what constitutes normal behavior. When a transaction occurs that deviates significantly from this established pattern, a large purchase from an unfamiliar overseas website in the middle of the night, for example, the system flags it instantly. This is anomaly detection, a quiet and constant process that provides a powerful layer of protection against fraud. This same ability to recognize patterns is also changing the way financial assessments are made. When an individual applies for a loan, a bank's traditional process often relies on a few key data points from a credit report. An AI-driven system can take a much broader and more nuanced view. It can analyze thousands of anonymized data points from a person's financial history to build a more holistic picture of their financial stability and habits. It looks for patterns of consistency, such as the regularity of bill payments over many years or the steady growth of a savings account. This allows for a more precise and individualized assessment of creditworthiness, moving beyond a simple score to a deeper understanding of financial behavior. Beyond these institutional uses, AI is also becoming a tool for personal financial management. Modern banking applications are beginning to incorporate simple AI features that act as a quiet digital assistant. These tools can automatically categorize spending, providing a clear picture of where money is going each month. They can identify recurring subscriptions that might have been forgotten, or gently point out opportunities for savings based on an individual's spending patterns. For those who invest, robo-advisors use algorithms to create and automatically rebalance a diversified portfolio based on a person's stated goals and risk tolerance. These are not grand gestures, but small, helpful interventions that make the task of managing one's finances more orderly and understandable. In summary, AI is being woven into the fabric of our financial system in three quiet ways: as a guardian that enhances security, as an analyst that provides more precise assessments, and as an assistant that helps organize our personal finances. This is a gradual evolution, one that is making the complex world of banking and payments a little more secure, efficient, and attuned to the needs of the individual. It is a slow upgrade to the background systems that help our economic lives run smoothly. In an economic environment defined by steady change, the most durable asset an individual can possess is the ability to adapt. This adaptation is not a sudden or strenuous effort, but a quiet, continuous process of learning. The traditional model of education, where learning was a distinct phase of life confined to youth, is gradually being replaced by a more fluid and integrated approach. Lifelong learning is not about constantly returning to a formal classroom, but about cultivating a calm and consistent habit of skill development that becomes a natural part of one's personal and professional routine. This continuous process of learning can be thought of in two distinct, parallel streams. The first stream is the development of technical fluency. This involves gaining a practical, working knowledge of the new tools that are shaping one's field. It is much like learning how to use a new piece of equipment in a workshop. An accountant, for example, might spend a quiet hour each week learning the features of a new AI-powered auditing software. A graphic designer might watch a tutorial on how to use a generative AI tool to create initial drafts. The goal is not to become a programmer or an AI developer, but simply to become a competent and confident user of the new tools of one's trade. This is a practical, task-oriented type of learning, a steady process of staying current with the evolving toolkit of modern work. The second stream of learning is deeper and more perennial. It is the focused cultivation of uniquely human skills, the capabilities that artificial intelligence complements but cannot replicate. These are often called soft skills, but they are the durable foundation of long-term value. This includes the skill of critical thinking, the ability to analyze a situation from multiple perspectives and make a nuanced judgment. It includes creativity, the capacity to connect disparate ideas to form a novel solution. And it includes emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and navigate complex human relationships, to communicate with empathy, and to collaborate effectively within a team. These skills are not learned from a single manual. They are developed slowly, through deliberate practice, thoughtful reflection, and experience. In essence, future-proofing one's financial life begins with this quiet, two-pronged approach to personal development. It is a steady rhythm of learning, one part focused on mastering the new tools, the other on deepening the timeless skills. This is not a race, but a gentle and ongoing process of cultivation, like tending a garden. By consistently investing small amounts of time in both technical fluency and human-centric skills, an individual builds a robust and adaptable foundation. This continuous learning is the calm, proactive path to navigating a changing world, ensuring that one's abilities remain relevant, valuable, and aligned with the opportunities of the future. As the world of work adapts to new technological tools, there is a quiet rebalancing of the skills that are most valued. While artificial intelligence excels at tasks that are analytical, computational, and repetitive, a distinct set of human abilities becomes more prominent and essential. These are the enduring skills, the ones that are not easily translated into code or replicated by an algorithm. Identifying and cultivating these skills is a calm and steady way to build a durable foundation for the future. One of the most fundamental of these skills is strategic judgment. An AI can process immense amounts of data to provide a detailed analysis of a business problem, offering optimized solutions based on the parameters it is given. However, the uniquely human skill lies in framing the problem in the first place. It is the ability to ask the right questions, to define the strategic goals, and to weigh ambiguous qualitative factors that are not present in any dataset. A business leader, for example, might receive an AI-generated report on market trends, but it is their judgment, informed by experience and intuition, that will decide how to interpret that report and which strategic path to follow. This is the skill of seeing the whole board, not just calculating the next move. Another enduring skill is genuine creativity. Generative AI can produce remarkable content by recombining patterns from the vast library of information on which it was trained. It can write a poem in the style of a known author or create an image that mimics a particular artistic movement. True creativity, however, is the ability to generate something truly novel, to make a conceptual leap that is not based on pre-existing patterns. It is the scientist who formulates a completely new hypothesis, the entrepreneur who imagines a service that has never existed before, or the artist who creates a new form of expression. This type of creativity stems from a deep well of personal experience, curiosity, and the ability to connect seemingly unrelated ideas, a process that remains profoundly human. Finally, at the heart of the most resilient professions is advanced social and emotional intelligence. This is the intricate dance of human interaction, empathy, negotiation, mentorship, and leadership. An I can schedule a meeting or summarize a conversation, but it cannot build trust between colleagues, inspire a team to overcome a challenge, or provide the nuanced, empathetic care of a skilled healthcare provider. These are abilities rooted in our capacity to understand the unspoken emotions and motivations of others. In a world where routine communication can be automated, the value of deep, authentic human connection and collaboration becomes more pronounced than ever. In essence, the skills that endure are those that operate beyond the realm of pure data processing. They are the skills of judgment, of novel creation, and of deep interpersonal connection. These are not new or exotic abilities. They are the fundamental qualities that have always defined human ingenuity. As technology takes care of the routine, it simply clears the path, creating more space and a greater need for these timeless human strengths. Navigating a changing economic landscape does not require complex or risky financial strategies. Instead, the most effective approach is a quiet and consistent return to fundamental principles. Building a resilient financial future is much like building a sturdy house. It begins with a solid foundation, designed to withstand the inevitable shifts in the weather. This foundation is not built overnight, but is laid methodically, piece by piece, through the practice of simple and timeless financial habits. The first and most essential piece of this foundation is the establishment of a clear and simple budget. This is not a restrictive exercise, but a quiet act of awareness. It is the process of creating a calm and detailed map of one's own financial world, showing the gentle flow of money in and money out. By simply listing all sources of income and categorizing all expenses, from fixed costs like rent and utilities to variable spending on groceries and leisure, a clear picture emerges. This simple act of observation, performed regularly, is the starting point for all intentional financial decisions. It allows for a clear-eyed understanding of one's own financial patterns, revealing areas where adjustments can be made gently and without stress. From this place of awareness, the next step is the methodical creation of an emergency fund. This is a dedicated savings account, separate from all other accounts, holding enough money to cover 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. This fund serves a single, crucial purpose: to act as a financial cushion. It is a buffer that can absorb the impact of unexpected events, such as a sudden job change or an unforeseen expense, without causing a major disruption to one's financial life. The process of building this fund is a slow and steady one. It is not about making large, heroic contributions, but about setting up a small, automatic transfer each month. This quiet, consistent accumulation of a safety net is what provides the stability and peace of mind needed to navigate any period of uncertainty. The third foundational element is the systematic management of debt. High-interest debt, such as that from credit cards, can act as a constant drain on financial resources. A resilient financial plan includes a clear and deliberate strategy for reducing and eliminating this type of debt. This often involves a process of consolidation and a focus on making payments that are consistently above the minimum requirement. By methodically paying down the principal, the amount of interest paid over time is reduced, freeing up more and more of one's income for savings and investment. This is a quiet and patient process of strengthening one's financial position from the inside out. In essence, a resilient financial future is built not on speculation, but on the simple and powerful habits of awareness, preparation, and prudence. A clear budget, a robust emergency fund, and a deliberate plan for managing debt. These are the timeless building blocks. They create a stable and secure base, a personal financial structure that is prepared for any economic season. Once a stable financial foundation is in place, the next step in building resilience is the quiet and deliberate practice of diversification. This is a simple, timeless principle, understood by any farmer who plants more than one type of crop. A field of a single crop is vulnerable to a specific blight or a change in the weather, but a farm with a variety of different crops, each with its own unique strengths and growing seasons, is far more robust. The same logic applies directly to personal finance, both in how one grows wealth and in how one earns an income. The most familiar form of this practice is investment diversification. This is the simple idea of not concentrating all of one's savings or investments into a single asset. Instead of owning stock in just one company, a diversified approach involves spreading those resources across many different companies, industries, and even asset types, such as stocks, bonds, and real estate. These different assets often behave differently in response to economic changes. During a period when the stock market is volatile, the value of bonds might remain stable or even increase, providing a gentle counterbalance. The goal of this strategy is not to find the single best-performing investment, but to create a blended portfolio whose overall value grows in a steadier, more predictable way over the long term. For most people, this is achieved simply by investing in low-cost index funds, which are pre-diversified baskets containing small pieces of hundreds or even thousands of different companies. The same powerful principle of diversification can be applied to one's sources of income. Relying on a single job for 100% of one's earnings is like the farmer's single crop field. It creates a single point of vulnerability. To build resilience, one can slowly and deliberately cultivate multiple, smaller streams of income that are independent of each other. This is not about taking on a second full-time job, but about the quiet development of supplementary income sources. A skilled software developer might spend a few hours on a weekend doing freelance consulting work. A talented photographer might sell prints of their work through an online marketplace. An individual with a spare room might rent it out, or someone with expertise in a particular subject might offer online tutoring. Each of these additional streams acts as a small tributary feeding into the main river of one's finances. Individually, they may not be large, but together they create a more resilient and adaptable financial structure. If the primary source of income is unexpectedly disrupted, these other streams provide a partial buffer, reducing the financial shock. In essence, diversification in both investments and income is the practical application of not putting all of one's eggs in one basket. It is a calm, patient, and methodical strategy for reducing risk and building a financial life that is less dependent on any single outcome, allowing it to better weather the changing economic seasons. The first step toward financial adaptability is clarity. It is the simple act of transforming the abstract concept of one's finances into a clear, tangible, and well-organized picture. This process is not unlike tidying a room. By putting everything in its proper place, a sense of order and calm emerges. The most fundamental tool for this practice is a personal ledger, a quiet and private record of every financial movement. Creating and maintaining this ledger is not an exercise in restriction, but a gentle, observational routine that builds a deep and practical understanding of one's own economic life. The ledger itself can be a simple object, a bound notebook with lined pages, or a basic digital spreadsheet on a computer. Its structure is based on the simple principle of double-entry bookkeeping, but reduced to its most essential form, a column for income and a column for outgoings. On one side, under the heading Income, every source of incoming money is listed. This includes the primary salary from an employer, noted on the day it is received, as well as any supplementary earnings from freelance projects, interest from savings accounts, or income from a side business. Each entry is recorded with a date, a source, and an amount, creating a clear and chronological record of all financial inflows. The other side of the ledger, labeled Outgoings, requires a bit more detail. This is where the true map of one's financial life is drawn. To create clarity, these outgoings are best organized into simple, logical categories. The first category is for fixed, recurring expenses, the predictable payments that form the foundation of a monthly budget. This includes rent or a mortgage payment, utility bills like electricity and water, internet and phone services, insurance premiums, and any regular loan payments. These figures are often the same each month, making them easy to record. The next category is for variable necessities, the expenses that are essential but can fluctuate. This includes spending on groceries, transportation costs like fuel or public transit fares, and household supplies. Tracking these requires a more regular habit, perhaps a quiet 20 minutes at the end of each week, to review bank statements or receipts and enter the amounts into their respective categories. Finally, a category is created for discretionary spending. This covers all non-essential purchases, such as dining out, entertainment, subscriptions to streaming services, hobbies, and shopping for personal items. There is no judgment in this process. It is purely an act of recording. The goal is simply to see, in clear and simple terms, where the money is going. The routine of updating the ledger becomes a calm and methodical practice. A quiet moment of review that translates the often chaotic flow of daily transactions into an orderly and understandable story. In summary, a personal ledger is a simple, two-part record of income and outgoings. By categorizing expenses into fixed, variable, and discretionary buckets, a person can create a detailed and accurate map of their financial activity. This map is built through the quiet, consistent habit of recording transactions, transforming a stream of data into a clear and coherent picture. This practice of methodical record-keeping is the foundation of financial awareness. It turns vague feelings of financial uncertainty into a concrete and manageable set of facts. This newfound clarity is not about limitation, it is about empowerment. It is the essential first step that allows for calm, thoughtful, and proactive decisions, building a quiet confidence to navigate the financial path ahead. With a clear map of one's financial world laid out in a personal ledger, the next quiet step toward resilience is to increase financial flexibility. Flexibility, in simple terms, is the amount of one's income that is not already committed to a pre-existing obligation. High-interest debt is a significant constraint on this flexibility, as it claims a portion of each month's income before it can be used for anything else. The process of reducing this debt is a calm and methodical strategy for reclaiming those resources and expanding one's future options. The process begins, like all good financial habits, with quiet organization. Using the personal ledger as a guide, a simple list of all outstanding debts is created. For each debt, a credit card balance, a student loan, a car payment, 3 pieces of information are noted: the total amount currently owed, the annual interest rate, and the required minimum monthly payment. This act of listing is not about judgment. It is simply about arranging the facts in an orderly way, much like a librarian cataloging books on a shelf. It transforms a vague sense of obligation into a clear and manageable inventory. With this clear inventory, a deliberate strategy can be chosen. There are 2 common and effective methods, each with its own simple logic. The first is sometimes called the avalanche method. The approach is to make the minimum required payment on all debts, and then to direct any extra available funds, no matter how small, toward the single debt with the highest interest rate. Mathematically, this is the most efficient path, as it minimizes the total amount of interest paid over the life of the loans. It is a quiet, logical strategy focused on eliminating the most expensive debt first. The second method is often called the snowball method. With this approach, the extra funds are directed toward the debt with the smallest total balance, regardless of its interest rate. Once that smallest debt is paid off completely, the entire payment that was going to it is then added to the payment for the next smallest debt. This creates a snowball effect, as the size of the extra payment grows with each debt that is eliminated. This method is often valued for the sense of accomplishment that comes from clearing individual debts more quickly, providing steady and encouraging milestones along the way. Whichever method is chosen, the key to success is the same: quiet and consistent application. It is the steady, predictable routine of making the payments month after month. Each payment is a small, deliberate step that reduces the principal balance. As the principal shrinks, so does the amount of interest it accrues. Over time, this patient process has a profound effect. It frees up a larger and larger portion of one's monthly income. This reclaimed money is pure flexibility. It is capital that can now be redirected toward building an emergency fund, investing for the future, or funding the pursuit of a new skill. The outcome of this methodical process is not just a lower debt balance, but a tangible increase in one's freedom to choose. Within a well-diversified financial plan, alongside the abstract world of stocks and digital assets, there is a quiet and steady role for things that are tangible. Tangible assets are physical objects that have an intrinsic value because of their substance and utility. They are things that can be seen and touched, like a piece of fine art, a bar of precious metal, or, most commonly, a parcel of land with a building on it. Examining the role of real estate provides a clear and calm understanding of how these physical assets contribute to long-term financial stability. Real estate, at its most fundamental level, is a physical asset that serves a primary human need: shelter. This gives it a durable, practical value that is distinct from purely financial assets. For many people, the most direct engagement with this asset class is through the ownership of a primary residence. This is a dual-purpose asset. It is both a place to live and a component of a long-term financial strategy. The process of owning a home is a slow and methodical one. It typically begins with a mortgage, a long-term loan used to purchase the property. With a fixed-rate mortgage, the principal and interest payment remains the same for the entire life of the loan, often 30 years. This creates a predictable and stable long-term housing cost, one that is not subject to the inflationary pressures that can cause rent to rise year after year. Each monthly mortgage payment is quietly doing two things at once. Part of the payment goes toward the interest on the loan, and the other, larger part, goes toward reducing the principal amount owed. This slow reduction of the loan balance is the process of building equity. Equity is the portion of the property's value that is owned outright. It is a form of slow, automated savings. Over many years of consistent, routine payments, the balance of ownership steadily shifts, and the property becomes a significant store of personal wealth. Beyond a primary residence, real estate can also serve as an investment designed to generate a steady stream of income. An investment property, such as a small apartment or a single-family house, is purchased with the intention of renting it to tenants. The goal of this strategy is for the monthly rental income to be sufficient to cover all of the property's own expenses. These expenses include the mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, and a budget for routine maintenance and repairs. When managed carefully, the property can become a small, self-sustaining financial engine, with the rental income slowly paying down the mortgage and building equity over time, potentially providing a small amount of surplus cash flow as well. In summary, real estate is a tangible asset that contributes to a financial plan in several quiet ways. As a home, it provides shelter and a stable, predictable long-term housing cost. Through the steady process of mortgage payments, it serves as a vehicle for building equity and wealth over time. As an investment, it has the potential to generate a consistent rental income stream. It is a physical, slow-moving asset, a grounding element that can provide a different kind of stability within a diversified portfolio, quietly anchoring it to the real world. Alongside real estate, another category of tangible assets has played a quiet and consistent role in finance for thousands of years: precious metals. The most well-known of these is gold. To understand its enduring value, one must look not at its day-to-day price fluctuations, but at its fundamental physical properties and its long, stable history as a store of value. Gold is a simple, tangible object. It is a chemical element with a unique combination of qualities. It is highly resistant to corrosion and tarnish, meaning it does not rust or decay over time. A piece of gold unearthed after 1,000 years will look much the same as the day it was buried. It is also dense, meaning a significant amount of value can be held in a small, portable object. And it is divisible, capable of being melted down and formed into precise, standardized units like coins or bars without losing its intrinsic worth. These simple physical characteristics are what first made it a practical and reliable medium for exchange and a store of wealth in ancient civilizations. Unlike a company's stock, a government bond, or even a national currency, gold is a physical asset that carries no counterparty risk. Its value is not dependent on the performance of a company or the promises of a government. It is a bearer asset, a self-contained unit of value that exists independently of any financial system. This is the core of its traditional role. Historically, during periods of significant economic uncertainty, war, or high inflation that erodes the purchasing power of paper money, gold has often been sought after as a quiet and reliable haven. Its value is not tied to any single economy, giving it a degree of stability in a changing world. In a modern, diversified portfolio, gold and other precious metals like silver and platinum typically play a small but specific role. They are not held with the expectation of rapid growth, as they do not generate income in the way a dividend-paying stock or rental property does. Instead, they are held as a form of financial insurance. Their value often moves independently of the stock and bond markets. During a period when financial markets are declining, the price of gold may remain stable or even rise, providing a gentle stabilizing effect on the overall value of a well-diversified portfolio. Owning physical gold is a simple process. It is often purchased in the form of standardized bullion coins or bars from reputable dealers. These objects are minted by governments and private refineries to a specific weight and purity, making them easily identifiable and tradable. They are then stored in a secure location, such as a safe deposit box at a bank. For those who prefer not to hold the physical metal, there are also financial instruments, such as exchange-traded funds, that are backed by physical gold stored in secure vaults, allowing one to own a share of the metal without taking physical possession. In summary, gold's value is rooted in its simple, enduring physical properties, its permanence, density, and divisibility. It is a tangible asset that exists outside of traditional financial systems, carrying no counterparty risk. Within a modern financial plan, it serves a quiet, stabilizing role, often acting as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. It is not an engine of growth, but a ballast. A small and steady component designed to provide a measure of security and balance through the changing tides of the global economy. The world of investing, particularly the stock market, has always been a quiet and methodical process of information gathering and analysis. For generations, a financial analyst's work involved the careful manual review of a company's financial statements, listening to earnings calls with executives, and reading industry news to form an educated opinion about a company's future prospects. This was a craft based on human diligence and judgment. The introduction of artificial intelligence into this world has not replaced this craft, but has provided it with a set of remarkably powerful new tools for seeing and understanding the market in a different way. One of the most significant of these new tools is the use of AI for what is called sentiment analysis. A large language model can be trained to read and understand the tone of human language. It can be set to the task of reading thousands of news articles, financial reports, social media posts, and transcripts of executive interviews that are published every single day. As it reads, it is not just looking for keywords. It is analyzing the emotional context, classifying the language as positive, negative, or neutral. This process, when applied to a specific company or an entire industry, can produce a real-time, quantitative measure of public and investor sentiment. It is like being able to listen to the collective whisper of the entire market at once, providing a broad and immediate sense of the prevailing mood. Beyond analyzing text, AI can also process vast and unconventional sources of information, often referred to as alternative data. This is data that falls outside of traditional financial reports, but can offer subtle clues about a company's performance. For example, an AI system can be programmed to analyze satellite imagery. It can be tasked with methodically counting the number of cars in the parking lots of a major retail chain across thousands of stores, day after day. A steady increase in cars might suggest rising foot traffic and, therefore, potentially higher sales, long before the company releases its official quarterly report. Similarly, AI can track global shipping data, monitoring the movement of container ships to gauge the flow of raw materials and finished goods, providing an early indicator of shifts in global trade and manufacturing activity. This influx of new information changes the nature of the human analyst's work. The value of their contribution shifts away from the slow, manual process of data collection and toward the higher-level skills of interpretation and synthesis. The analyst's job becomes one of designing the systems that gather this data, of asking the right questions of the AI, and of weaving together these diverse threads of information, sentiment analysis, alternative data, and traditional financial metrics, into a single, coherent investment thesis. The AI provides the raw analytical power, but the human provides the context, the strategic judgment, and the wisdom to understand what it all means. In essence, AI is reshaping investment analysis by dramatically expanding the amount and variety of information that can be processed. It is a quiet evolution, transforming the field from one of information scarcity to one of information abundance. The core task of making a thoughtful, long-term judgment about a company's value remains, but it is now informed by a richer, deeper, and more immediate understanding of the world in which that company operates. Every major technological shift in history has been built upon a new and essential infrastructure. The age of steam power required the construction of railways and steel mills. The age of electricity needed a vast grid of power plants and transmission lines. In a similar way, the age of artificial intelligence is being built upon a new kind of global infrastructure, a quiet and intricate system of hardware and software. A long-term investment approach often involves looking at the companies that are methodically building these foundational layers, the essential picks and shovels of the new economy. The first and most fundamental layer of this new infrastructure is physical hardware, specifically the specialized microchips that perform the complex calculations required for artificial intelligence. The most important of these are called graphics processing units, or GPUs. Originally designed to render the complex graphics for video games, their unique architecture, which allows them to perform thousands of simple calculations simultaneously, turned out to be perfectly suited for the parallel processing needed to train large AI models. These chips are incredibly complex objects, tiny silicon wafers etched with billions of microscopic transistors, arranged in a precise and intricate pattern. Investing in this layer means looking at the handful of companies that specialize in the design and fabrication of these powerful, essential components. They are the engine makers of the AI revolution. This powerful hardware does not operate in isolation. The second layer of the infrastructure is the vast network of data centers that house these chips and make their computational power available to the world. These are large, unassuming, and highly secure buildings, often located in remote areas with access to abundant and inexpensive electricity. Inside, thousands of servers are arranged in long, neat rows, cooled by sophisticated climate control systems. These data centers are the power plants of the digital age. They are operated by large cloud computing companies who provide access to this immense processing power as a utility. A small startup or a large research institution can rent computational time on these supercomputers, allowing them to train and run their own AI models without needing to build their own physical infrastructure. This layer consists of the companies that own and operate this global network of computational power. The third and final layer is built upon the first two. This is the realm of the companies that use the chips and the data centers to create the large, foundational AI models themselves. These companies are like the architects who design the core operating systems for this new era. They invest billions of dollars and years of research into training vast models on immense datasets, creating the powerful, general-purpose AI systems that other businesses and developers can then use as a platform. These foundational models are the semi-finished goods of the AI economy, a base layer of intelligence upon which a whole ecosystem of more specialized applications and services can be built. In summary, the technological infrastructure of the AI age can be understood as three distinct, interconnected layers. It begins with the specialized silicon chips that provide the raw processing power. It is housed within a global network of cloud data centers that deliver this power as a service. And it is organized by the foundational models that serve as the operating systems for this new computational world. A long-term investment strategy can focus on these foundational companies, the ones quietly building the essential and enduring infrastructure that will support the entire economy for decades to come. Financial resilience, in its most practical form, is about creating a structure that can absorb change without breaking. A single tall pillar may be strong, but it is vulnerable to a shift in the ground beneath it. A structure supported by multiple smaller pillars, however, is far more stable. Applying this simple architectural principle to one's financial life is the quiet practice of cultivating multiple sources of income. This is not a rushed or stressful endeavor, but a slow and deliberate process of building a more diversified and robust financial base, one small pillar at a time. The process begins with a calm and thoughtful inventory of one's existing skills, knowledge, and assets. This is a quiet exercise of self-reflection, mapping out the resources already at one's disposal. A person might list their professional skills, such as writing, project management, or graphic design. They might also list their personal hobbies and passions, which often contain hidden expertise, such as gardening, woodworking, or playing a musical instrument. Finally, they might list any underutilized physical assets they possess, such as a spare room in their home, a vehicle that is not always in use, or specialized equipment like a camera or a set of tools. This inventory is a simple, private catalog of potential value. From this catalog, the next step is to identify a single, small opportunity to create an additional income stream. The key is to start with something that is low effort and low risk, a project that can be developed in the quiet margins of one's existing schedule without causing strain or burnout. A skilled writer, for example, might decide to take on one small freelance article a month. A person with a passion for baking might offer to make custom cakes for friends and family on weekends. Someone with a spare room might list it on a short-term rental platform for just a few nights each month. The initial goal is not to generate a large income, but simply to establish the habit and the system for a second stream of revenue. Once this first small stream is established and running smoothly, it becomes a template. The process can be slowly and methodically repeated. Over the course of a year, the freelance writer might gradually take on a second regular client. The home baker might begin to sell their goods at a small, local farmer's market once a month. The quiet accumulation of these small, independent income streams creates a profound shift in one's financial structure. The total dependence on a single paycheck from a primary job is gently reduced. Each new source of income is another small pillar, adding to the overall stability. In summary, cultivating multiple income sources is a three-step process of quiet and deliberate action. It begins with an inventory of one's skills and assets. It proceeds with the creation of a single, small, and manageable side project. And it is sustained by the slow and patient addition of other small streams over time. This is not a strategy for getting rich quickly, but a methodical and empowering approach to building a more resilient financial life, one that is better prepared to navigate the gentle and persistent currents of economic change. The process of building multiple income streams has been made more accessible by the quiet rise of a new kind of digital infrastructure, the freelance platform. These platforms, often called the gig economy, are online marketplaces designed for a simple purpose. They connect individuals who have a specific skill or service to offer, with individuals or businesses who have a need for that skill. They act as a digital intermediary, a calm and orderly space where short-term projects and freelance work can be discovered and arranged. The mechanics of these platforms are straightforward and designed for ease of use. An individual looking to offer a service first creates a detailed profile. This is a digital storefront, a quiet and professional presentation of their skills and experience. A web developer, for example, would create a profile that lists the programming languages they know, showcases a portfolio of websites they have built, and perhaps includes testimonials from previous clients. This profile acts as a digital resume and a portfolio, all in one place. Once the profile is complete, the platform provides two ways to find work. The first is passive. Potential clients who are searching the platform for a particular skill can discover the profile and reach out directly with a project proposal. The second method is active. The individual can browse through a constantly updated list of projects that businesses have posted. A company looking for someone to design a logo, for instance, will post a detailed project brief outlining their needs, their budget, and their timeline. The freelancer can then review this brief and, if it aligns with their skills, submit a proposal. These platforms provide a structured and secure environment for these transactions. They handle the administrative aspects of freelance work that were once complex and time-consuming. The platform typically includes a built-in messaging system for clear communication, a system for tracking hours or project milestones, and, most importantly, a secure payment system. When a project is agreed upon, the client's payment is often held in an escrow account by the platform. This means the money is set aside and is released to the freelancer only upon the successful completion and approval of the work. This simple mechanism removes much of the financial uncertainty from freelance work, ensuring that payment is secure and timely. In essence, these freelance platforms are a quiet but powerful enabler of income diversification. They have lowered the barrier to entry for independent work, providing a global marketplace for skills of every kind, from writing and translation to software development and financial consulting. They provide the digital tools for marketing, communication, and secure payment, allowing individuals to focus on what they do best. For those looking to build additional income streams, these platforms offer a structured, accessible, and low-risk way to begin, transforming a personal skill into a tangible source of revenue in the global digital economy. As the economic landscape gently reconfigures itself around new technologies, the opportunities for individual initiative and creation begin to quietly expand. The same tools that are automating routine tasks within large corporations are also becoming accessible to individuals, dramatically lowering the cost and complexity of starting a small business. This fosters a calm and steady rise in entrepreneurship, not as a high-risk venture, but as a practical and accessible path for building an independent and resilient financial life. In previous eras, starting a business required a significant amount of upfront capital and a wide range of specialized employees. A person wanting to sell a physical product would need to lease a physical storefront, hire staff to manage it, and invest in a large inventory of goods. Today, the digital equivalent of that storefront can be created in a single afternoon. E-commerce platforms provide simple, template-based tools that allow anyone to build a professional-looking online shop with a few clicks. These platforms are integrated with secure payment processing systems and logistics networks that can handle shipping and returns, automating the entire back end of the business. An artisan who makes handcrafted leather goods, for instance, can now have a global retail presence from a small workshop in their own home. This democratization of tools extends to nearly every aspect of running a business. The need for a large marketing department is replaced by access to social media and digital advertising platforms, where a small, targeted budget can be used to reach a specific audience. The role of a full-time bookkeeper can be handled by simple, cloud-based accounting software that automatically tracks sales and expenses. Even complex creative tasks like designing a logo or creating product photography can be assisted by generative AI tools, which can produce high-quality initial drafts for a human to then refine. Each of these tools is a piece of a modular and affordable small business toolkit. This new environment allows for a different kind of entrepreneurship to flourish. It is one based on a model of quiet, incremental growth. A new business does not need to launch with a grand, expensive debut. It can start as a small side project, a single product or service offered to a niche audience. The owner can use the direct feedback from their first few customers to slowly and methodically improve their offering. The business can grow organically at a pace that is comfortable and sustainable, funded by its own early revenues rather than by large external investments. It is a process of patient and observant building, of finding a small, unmet need and serving it exceptionally well. In essence, the very technologies that are reshaping large-scale industry are also providing individuals with the means to build something of their own. The barriers to entry for starting a small business have been quietly and systematically lowered. This creates a fertile ground for a new generation of small-scale entrepreneurs who can leverage these powerful tools to create resilient, independent livelihoods built around their unique skills and passions. This is not a story of disruption, but of empowerment and quiet creation. For the modern small business owner, artificial intelligence is not an abstract or distant technology. It is a practical and accessible toolkit, a set of digital assistants that can quietly handle many of the routine and time-consuming tasks involved in building and scaling a new venture. Leveraging these tools allows a single person or a small team to operate with the efficiency and reach that once required a much larger organization. The journey of a small business often begins with understanding its potential customers. AI tools can be used to perform market research with a depth and speed that was previously unimaginable. An entrepreneur with an idea for a new type of sustainable pet food, for example, could use an AI to analyze thousands of online conversations from pet owner forums and social media groups. The AI would not just count keywords, it would identify the key themes of these conversations, summarizing the most common concerns pet owners have about nutrition, their frustrations with existing products, and the specific ingredients they are most interested in. This provides a rich and nuanced picture of the market, a quiet and data-driven foundation upon which to build a product that meets a genuine need. Once the business is launched, AI becomes a powerful assistant for day-to-day operations. Customer service is a prime example. A small online store might receive dozens of similar inquiries every day about shipping times, return policies, or product dimensions. An AI-powered chatbot can be easily integrated into the website to provide instant, accurate answers to these common questions 24 hours a day. This frees the business owner to focus their personal attention on the more complex or sensitive customer issues that require a human touch. The AI handles the routine, and the human provides the empathy and nuanced problem-solving. In the realm of marketing, AI tools can act as a tireless creative partner. A business owner needing to write a weekly email newsletter or create a series of social media posts can use a large language model as a starting point. By providing a simple prompt, such as, "Write a friendly and informative post about the benefits of our new organic dog treats," the AI can generate several well-structured drafts in a matter of seconds. The business owner's role then becomes one of curation and refinement. They can select the best draft, edit it to match their brand's unique voice, and add their own personal insights. The AI provides the initial structure and content, and the human provides the final polish and authenticity. In essence, AI acts as a quiet force multiplier for the small business owner. It is a research analyst, a customer service representative, and a marketing assistant, all available on demand. By methodically delegating these routine and repetitive tasks to these specialized digital tools, the entrepreneur is able to conserve their most valuable and finite resource, their own time and creative energy. This allows them to focus on the truly essential elements of their business: strategic planning, product innovation, and building genuine relationships with their customers. The quiet, steady economic shifts we have been exploring naturally invite a thoughtful reassessment of our long-term financial plans. The traditional concept of retirement, a single, definitive end to a long career with one or two employers, was a product of a specific economic era. As the nature of work becomes more fluid, project-based, and potentially longer-lasting, the framework for long-term savings must also become more flexible and adaptable. This is not a cause for concern, but a calm and logical adjustment to a new set of realities. The first part of this reassessment involves looking at the structure of retirement savings accounts. Traditional plans, such as a company-sponsored pension or a 401k, were designed around the model of long-term, stable employment. While these remain powerful and valuable tools, the modern financial plan often needs to be more portable and self-directed. The rise of freelance work and the gig economy means that an individual's career may consist of many different projects and income sources over several decades. In this context, individual retirement accounts, or IRAs, become increasingly important. These are personal savings plans that are not tied to a specific employer, allowing for consistent, tax-advantaged contributions regardless of one's employment status. This creates a stable and portable foundation for long-term savings that can travel with a person throughout their entire working life. The second part of the reassessment is a shift in the timeline of financial planning. The old model was often a linear, two-stage plan, a period of accumulation followed by a period of withdrawal. The new model is more cyclical and continuous. Lifelong learning and the potential for multiple career transitions mean that an individual might have several distinct phases in their working life. They might work in a traditional job for a decade, then take a few years to start a small business, and later transition to part-time consulting work. This more dynamic career path requires a more dynamic financial plan. Instead of a single retirement date, there might be a series of mini-retirements or sabbaticals for retraining or personal projects. The financial goal is less about reaching a single final finish line and more about building a resilient financial base that can support these various transitions. This leads to a third and final adjustment, a redefinition of the savings goal itself. The traditional approach was often to save for retirement, an abstract and distant event. A more adaptive approach is to save for specific, tangible goals with different time horizons. One might have a long-term fund for financial independence, a medium-term fund for a child's education or a down payment on a house, and a shorter-term fund for a career transition or a sabbatical. By breaking down the single, monolithic goal of retirement into a series of smaller, more concrete objectives, the process of saving becomes more manageable and more closely aligned with the realities of a modern life. In summary, adapting our long-term financial plans is a quiet process of embracing flexibility. It involves using portable savings vehicles that are not tied to a single employer, adopting a more continuous and cyclical view of one's career and savings timeline, and redefining large, abstract goals into smaller, more tangible objectives. It is a calm and methodical adjustment, ensuring that our financial structures are as adaptable and resilient as the new world of work they are designed to support. In an economic era where career paths are becoming more varied and self-directed, the responsibility for building a secure financial future shifts quietly toward the individual. This is not a burden, but an opportunity for empowerment. The practice of managing one's own money, once seen as a complex and specialized skill, is now accessible to anyone through a few simple, powerful, and methodical routines. The most effective of these is the principle of paying oneself first, a quiet and automated habit that forms the bedrock of personal savings. This principle is put into practice through a simple, one-time setup. Using an online banking portal, a person can create a recurring, automatic transfer. They instruct their bank to move a specific, predetermined amount of money from their primary checking account, where their salary is deposited, to a separate savings or investment account. The key to this process is the timing. The transfer is scheduled to occur on a specific day each month, typically the day after a regular payday. This ensures that the portion of income designated for savings is set aside before any of it can be spent on discretionary items. It is a quiet, invisible transaction that happens in the background, a gentle and automatic act of prioritizing one's future self. The amount of this transfer does not need to be large. The power of the system lies not in the size of each contribution, but in its consistency. A small amount, saved automatically every single month over a period of many years, grows into a substantial sum through the slow, steady magic of compound interest. The process is entirely removed from the daily fluctuations of willpower or motivation. The savings happen methodically, like clockwork, building a financial reserve without any ongoing effort or decision-making. Once the savings are being accumulated in this orderly fashion, the next step is to manage them with a philosophy of simplicity. For long-term goals, this often means directing the automated transfers into a small number of well-diversified, low-cost investment vehicles, such as broad market index funds. An index fund is a simple and elegant tool. It is a single investment that holds tiny fractional shares of hundreds or even thousands of different companies, mirroring the composition of a major stock market index. Owning a single share of such a fund is like owning a small, representative slice of the entire economy. This approach eliminates the need to research and select individual stocks, and it provides instant, comprehensive diversification. The final component of this self-directed system is a routine of calm, periodic review. This is not about anxiously checking account balances every day. It is a scheduled, quiet appointment with oneself, perhaps once or twice a year. During this review, a person can look at their automated savings plan, see how their investments have performed, and make any gentle adjustments needed to stay aligned with their long-term goals. It is a moment of quiet stewardship, ensuring the automated system is still serving its intended purpose. In essence, the modern approach to personal savings is built on this triad of quiet habits: the automation of contributions, the simplicity of investments, and the calm rhythm of periodic review. It is a system designed to work patiently in the background, a personal financial engine that methodically and reliably builds a secure foundation for the years ahead. Navigating a period of economic transition is as much an internal psychological process as it is an external, financial one. The feeling of financial security is not solely determined by the numbers in an account, but by the mindset and habits one cultivates. In a world of steady and predictable change, true security comes from a quiet and internal sense of preparedness, a calm confidence built upon a foundation of knowledge, and a focus on the things that are within one's control. A significant part of this psychological shift is moving from a mindset of prediction to one of preparation. The future path of the economy, or the precise evolution of technology, is inherently unpredictable. Attempting to guess the next market trend or the next disruptive innovation can be a source of constant anxiety. A more calming and effective approach is to release the need to predict the future and instead focus on building a personal financial system that is robust enough to handle a wide range of possible futures. This is the quiet confidence that comes from having a well-funded emergency account, a diversified portfolio, and multiple streams of income. These are not bets on a specific outcome. They are practical, all-weather preparations. The sense of security comes not from knowing what will happen, but from knowing that one is prepared for whatever might happen. Another key element is the cultivation of a long-term perspective. Financial markets and economic headlines can be volatile in the short term, with daily and weekly fluctuations that can feel unsettling. A calm and resilient mindset is one that learns to zoom out, to view these short-term movements as mere noise, within a much longer, steadier, and more predictable upward trend. It is like watching the tide come in. Observing any single wave, one might see the water advance and then recede, but by observing for a few hours, the overall direction of the tide becomes clear and undeniable. Similarly, a long-term investor learns to focus on the decades-long process of economic growth and wealth creation, and to see the short-term volatility as a normal and expected part of that journey. Finally, a deep and lasting sense of financial security is often rooted in a redefinition of wealth itself. In a world where many goods and digital services are becoming more abundant and less expensive, the pursuit of ever-increasing material accumulation can become a less fulfilling goal. True wealth can be redefined to include not just financial assets but also the richness of one's skills, the strength of one's community, the quality of one's health, and the abundance of one's free time. By consciously shifting focus toward these non-financial forms of capital, one's sense of well-being becomes less dependent on the daily fluctuations of the market. Financial security, in this context, becomes a tool that supports this broader vision of a well-lived life, rather than being the ultimate goal in and of itself. In essence, the psychology of financial security in a changing world is a quiet practice of internal realignment. It is a shift from prediction to preparation, from a short-term focus to a long-term perspective, and from a narrow definition of wealth to a more holistic one. These are the internal anchors that provide a steady and enduring sense of calm, regardless of the gentle and persistent currents of the global economy. Alongside the personal and internal practices that build financial resilience, there is another quiet and powerful source of stability that lies outside of the individual. This is the strength and support found in a well-tended community network. In a world of increasing digital connection, the value of tangible, local, and professional human networks becomes more apparent than ever. These are not just social circles. They are a form of collective wealth, a quiet and informal safety net built on a foundation of mutual trust and reciprocity. These networks are cultivated in two primary spheres. The first is the professional sphere. This involves the deliberate building of relationships with peers and mentors within one's field of work. For a freelancer or a small business owner, this might take the form of a small mastermind group. This is a group of 4 or 5 individuals in non-competing but related fields who agree to meet on a regular, predictable schedule, perhaps for 2 hours on the first Tuesday of every month. The format of these meetings is simple and structured. Each member is given a set amount of time to share a current business challenge they are facing. The rest of the group then listens quietly and offers thoughtful advice, shares their own experiences, or suggests a helpful resource. Over time, these groups become a powerful source of shared knowledge, accountability, and professional referrals. The second sphere is the local community, the network of people in one's immediate physical vicinity. This form of support is built through small, consistent, and everyday acts of neighborliness. It is the quiet system of mutual aid that emerges organically in a connected neighborhood. This might manifest as a shared tool library, a simple shed or garage where neighbors pool their resources, allowing everyone access to a high-quality lawnmower, a power washer, or a set of specialized wrenches without each household needing to bear the full cost of ownership. It is the informal carpool for school children, or the neighborhood group chat used to share a surplus of garden vegetables or to ask for a recommendation for a reliable local plumber. These two types of networks, one professional, one local, create a rich and resilient web of support. They represent a different kind of diversification, a diversification of reliance. When a person encounters a challenge, whether it is a technical problem in their work or a practical issue at home, they have a community of trusted individuals to turn to for advice and assistance. This social capital is a powerful form of insurance. It is a resource that cannot be quantified on a balance sheet, but its value is immense. It reduces the need to pay for every single solution, and it provides a deep and reassuring sense of belonging. In essence, building these strong community networks is a quiet and long-term investment in a different kind of asset. It is the understanding that true security is not just about the resources one has accumulated individually, but also about the strength of the connections one has with others. In an era of profound change, this web of human support provides a steady and enduring anchor, a source of resilience that is both practical and profoundly comforting. The economic transformations we have been exploring will ultimately find their quietest and most direct expression in the contents of an ordinary shopping basket. The cost of living, that simple measure of how much it costs to maintain a certain standard of life, will not uniformly rise or fall in an AI-driven economy. Instead, it will undergo a slow and profound rebalancing, a quiet divergence between the cost of things that can be easily automated and the cost of things that cannot. On one side of this equation, a powerful and persistent deflationary pressure will continue to act upon a wide range of goods and services. Anything that can be produced or delivered through a scalable, repeatable, and data-driven process will likely become more abundant and less expensive over time. The cost of digital goods is the clearest example. A subscription to a music streaming service that offers millions of songs, or a cloud storage plan that holds a lifetime of photos, is made possible by the immense efficiency of automated data centers. The cost of delivering these services to one additional person is nearly zero, so their prices can remain remarkably low. This same gentle, downward pressure will extend to many physical goods. The process of manufacturing a kitchen appliance, a piece of furniture, or a child's toy will become steadily more efficient through automated factories and optimized supply chains. This increased productivity translates into lower production costs, and in a competitive market, these savings are gradually passed on to the consumer. The result is a world where high-quality manufactured goods become more accessible and affordable. On the other side of the equation, however, prices for certain things will likely remain stable or even increase. These are the goods and services that are defined by their inherent scarcity. The first category of scarcity is physical. There is a finite amount of land in desirable locations and a limited supply of the raw materials needed for our infrastructure. The price of a well-located home or the cost of the sustainably sourced food grown on that land is not subject to the same deflationary forces as a mass-produced object. The second category of scarcity is human. The value of services that depend on the unique skill, time, and empathy of a specific person may rise. The cost of a class with a gifted teacher, a session with a compassionate therapist, or a piece of art created by a skilled artisan is tied directly to the limited availability of that individual's expertise. As other parts of the economy become more productive, the relative value of these unique, high-touch human experiences naturally increases. In essence, the future cost of living will be a tale of two economies. The cost of things that are abundant, digital, and machine-made will likely fall, increasing the purchasing power of every dollar spent on them. Meanwhile, the cost of things that are scarce, physical, and uniquely human may rise. The average cost of living will become a quiet mosaic of these two opposing trends. a clear and simple reflection of what our new economy is able to produce in abundance, and what it continues to hold as rare and valuable. Of all the components that make up the cost of living, healthcare has traditionally been one of the most complex and expensive. It is an area defined by a high degree of specialized human expertise, time-intensive procedures, and a vast administrative infrastructure. The quiet integration of artificial intelligence into this field holds a significant potential to address these complexities, not by replacing human care, but by augmenting it with powerful tools that can systematically lower costs and improve efficiency. One of the most direct applications of AI is in the field of medical diagnostics. The process of interpreting a medical image, such as an X-ray, an MRI, or a CT scan, is a highly skilled and time-consuming task for a radiologist. An AI model can be trained on a library of millions of anonymized medical images, learning to recognize the subtle patterns that may indicate the presence of a particular condition. It can scan an image in seconds and highlight areas of potential concern with a level of precision that can sometimes exceed human capabilities. This does not remove the radiologist from the process. Instead, the AI acts as a tireless and exceptionally perceptive assistant. It performs the initial, methodical search, allowing the human expert to focus their attention on the most critical areas, to verify the findings, and to make the final diagnosis. This collaboration can dramatically reduce the time it takes to interpret each scan, allowing a single specialist to handle a larger volume of cases more accurately, which in turn can lower the overall cost of diagnostic services. Beyond diagnostics, AI is also being quietly deployed to streamline the immense administrative burden of the healthcare system. A significant portion of healthcare costs is tied up in non-clinical tasks. Scheduling appointments, processing insurance claims, managing patient records, and handling billing. These are routine, rule-based processes that are perfectly suited for automation. An AI system can manage a complex hospital schedule, optimizing the use of operating rooms and equipment. It can process insurance paperwork instantly, checking for errors and ensuring compliance, which reduces administrative waste and delays. By automating these background tasks, the system frees up human staff to focus on direct patient interaction and care coordination. A third and even more profound area of impact is in the acceleration of drug discovery and development. Bringing a new medicine to market is a slow, methodical, and extraordinarily expensive process, often taking more than a decade and costing billions of dollars. Much of this time and expense is spent in the early stages of research, identifying promising molecular compounds out of millions of possibilities. AI can dramatically speed up this search. It can analyze vast biological datasets to predict how different compounds will interact with diseases at a molecular level, identifying the most promising candidates for further testing. By making this initial discovery phase more targeted and efficient, AI has the potential to significantly reduce the cost of developing new treatments, which can eventually lead to more affordable medicines. In summary, AI's potential to lower healthcare costs is a story of quiet and practical efficiencies. It acts as a diagnostic assistant to medical experts, an administrative tool to reduce operational waste, and a research accelerator to lower the cost of innovation. Each of these applications works to make the healthcare system more productive, allowing it to deliver a higher quality of care more affordably. This frees up the valuable time of human healthcare professionals, allowing them to focus on the essential and irreplaceable work of providing compassionate, patient-centered care. The quiet process of lifelong learning, which forms the bedrock of personal and financial adaptability, is itself being transformed by the very tools it seeks to master. Artificial intelligence is steadily and profoundly changing the landscape of education, not by replacing the essential role of human teachers, but by making high-quality, personalized learning more accessible and affordable than ever before. This is a story of quiet empowerment, of lowering the barriers to knowledge for everyone. The first and most significant change is the emergence of AI as a personalized tutor. In a traditional educational setting, a single teacher must often cater to a diverse group of students, each with their own unique pace and style of learning. An AI-powered educational platform can provide a one-to-one learning experience for every student, a patient, and endlessly available digital guide. If a student is struggling with a particular concept in mathematics, for example, the AI can detect this. It will then automatically provide additional practice problems, offer alternative explanations of the concept, and suggest helpful supplementary materials, like a short video or an interactive simulation. It can adapt the curriculum in real time, slowing down to reinforce a difficult topic, or accelerating through material the student has already mastered. This creates a learning journey that is uniquely tailored to the needs of the individual. Beyond personalized instruction, AI is also breaking down the barriers of language and disability. A student anywhere in the world can now access a lecture from a leading university and receive an instant, high-quality translation and transcript in their native language. For students with hearing impairments, real-time captioning becomes a standard feature of any educational video. For those with visual impairments, an AI can read text aloud or describe the content of images. These tools quietly and systematically dismantle the obstacles that have historically limited access to information, creating a more inclusive and equitable global classroom. This new educational infrastructure also has a profound effect on cost. The creation and distribution of a high-quality online course, complete with interactive exercises and personalized feedback from an AI tutor, is a highly scalable process. Once the course is developed, the cost of delivering it to an additional student is minimal. This creates the potential for a world where access to a world-class education in almost any subject is no longer a luxury, but an affordable and readily available utility. The price of learning a new skill, whether it is a programming language, a new design software, or the fundamentals of business management, can fall dramatically. In essence, AI is changing the landscape of education by making it more personal, more accessible, and more affordable. It acts as a tireless tutor, a universal translator, and an enabler of low-cost, scalable learning platforms. This does not diminish the role of the human teacher. Instead, it frees them from the repetitive aspects of instruction and assessment, allowing them to focus on what they do best: inspiring curiosity, mentoring students, and fostering the deep, collaborative, and creative thinking that no machine can replicate. The true economic potential of this new educational landscape unfolds not just in its broad accessibility, but in the quiet precision of personalized learning. This is a fundamental shift from a one-size-fits-all model of education to one that is as unique as the individual learner. It is the difference between an off-the-rack garment and a piece of clothing that has been tailored to one's exact measurements, providing a perfect and comfortable fit. This process of personalization begins with a quiet and detailed assessment. When a person decides to learn a new skill, for instance, a marketing professional wanting to become proficient in data analysis, an AI-driven learning system does not start them at the beginning of a generic curriculum. Instead, it first creates a detailed map of their existing knowledge. Through a series of adaptive questions and small diagnostic exercises, it identifies precisely what the learner already knows and, more importantly, where the specific gaps in their understanding lie. The system might find that the marketing professional already has a strong intuitive grasp of statistics, but needs to build their foundational knowledge of a programming language like Python. Based on this precise diagnostic, the AI then constructs a bespoke learning path. This is a custom-built curriculum, a sequence of modules, lessons, and projects designed to fill those specific knowledge gaps in the most efficient way possible. The learner is not required to spend time on material they have already mastered. Instead, their effort is focused entirely on the new information they need to acquire. The learning path is also dynamic. It constantly adjusts based on the learner's progress, providing extra support in areas of difficulty and accelerating through concepts that are grasped quickly. The economic impact of this highly efficient process is profound. First, it dramatically reduces the time it takes to become proficient in a new skill. By eliminating redundancy, the process of upskilling becomes a more targeted and less time-consuming endeavor. This lowers the opportunity cost of learning, making it more feasible for someone to acquire new valuable skills while still managing their existing work and life commitments. Second, this creates a much more fluid and responsive labor market. The skills gap that often emerges during technological transitions can be closed more rapidly, As new types of jobs are created, personalized learning platforms can quickly develop and deploy targeted training programs to prepare the workforce for these new roles. This increases the overall adaptability of the economy, allowing it to reallocate human talent more smoothly and efficiently. Finally, this gives rise to a new way of thinking about qualifications. The traditional, multi-year degree is supplemented by a portfolio of specific, verifiable micro-credentials. A person's resume becomes a living document, a collection of skills acquired through these personalized learning journeys, each one a testament to their ability to adapt and grow. In summary, personalized learning is not just a more effective way to teach, it is a powerful economic tool. By making the acquisition of new skills a faster, more precise, and more efficient process, it quietly empowers individuals to navigate the evolving world of work with confidence and a sense of continuous, lifelong growth. The quiet and steady process of economic adaptation is not solely an individual endeavor. It is a collective journey, and governments can play a calm and supportive role in creating an environment where individuals and businesses can navigate this transition smoothly and confidently. This is not about resisting change, but about fostering resilience. Effective policies are often simple, targeted, and designed to empower people with the tools and resources they need to adapt and thrive. One of the most direct and impactful policy areas is the active support for lifelong learning. Recognizing that education is no longer a single phase of life, governments can create frameworks that make continuous skill development a normal and accessible part of a person's career. This can take the form of personal learning accounts. In such a system, every citizen is provided with a dedicated, government-seeded fund that can be used exclusively for approved educational and training programs throughout their life. This is a quiet and empowering mechanism. An adult wanting to take a course in a new software or a skilled trade can draw from this account to cover the cost of tuition. It is a simple, flexible, and self-directed way to encourage and subsidize the continuous upskilling that a modern economy requires. Another key policy area is the modernization of the social safety net to reflect the changing nature of work. Traditional systems, like unemployment insurance, were designed for a world of long-term, single-employer jobs. As more people engage in freelance, contract, or gig economy work, these old systems can be difficult to access. A more adaptive approach is the creation of a portable benefits system. In this model, benefits such as retirement savings contributions or access to health insurance are not tied to a specific employer. Instead, they are tied to the individual worker. A platform company that hires a freelance driver, for instance, might be required to contribute a small percentage of that driver's earnings into the driver's personal and portable benefits account. This ensures that all workers, regardless of their employment classification, have a steady and consistent way to build a long-term safety net. Finally, governments can play a quiet but crucial role in fostering entrepreneurship and small business creation. This involves the methodical and deliberate reduction of bureaucratic friction. The process of registering a new business, for example, can be streamlined into a simple online form that can be completed in a single afternoon. The tax code can be simplified for small businesses and self-employed individuals, making compliance less of a burden. Governments can also support the creation of local innovation hubs or makerspaces, shared workshops, that provide affordable access to advanced tools like 3D printers and laser cutters, allowing small-scale entrepreneurs to prototype and develop new products without a large upfront capital investment. In summary, government policies that encourage economic adaptation are not grand or dramatic interventions. They are quiet, practical, and enabling. They support lifelong learning through personal accounts, they modernize the safety net with portable benefits, and they reduce the friction for small business creation. Each of these is a calm and steady measure, designed to create a more resilient and dynamic society, one where individuals are empowered to confidently navigate the opportunities of a changing world. The economic shifts powered by artificial intelligence are not confined by national borders. They are a global phenomenon, a quiet and universal current that flows through the interconnected systems of trade, finance, and information. As such, managing a smooth and stable transition is a shared responsibility, a task that is best approached not in isolation, but through calm, deliberate, and methodical international cooperation. This global perspective is not about creating a single, monolithic plan, but about fostering a shared understanding and a common set of principles to guide a collective journey. One of the first and most fundamental areas for this quiet cooperation is in the establishment of common standards and ethical frameworks for AI development. As these powerful tools are woven into the fabric of the global economy, a shared rulebook becomes essential for ensuring they are used safely and responsibly. This involves quiet, technical discussions among nations to agree on principles for things like data privacy, algorithmic transparency, and the interoperability of systems. When countries agree on a common standard for how data can be securely shared across borders, it allows for smoother international trade in digital services. When they adopt a shared ethical framework for the use of AI in sensitive areas like finance or healthcare, it builds global trust and confidence in these new technologies. This is a process of quiet alignment, of building a common technical and ethical language for the digital age. A second vital area of cooperation is in the sharing of knowledge and best practices for education and workforce development. Every country is facing the same challenge of needing to prepare its citizens for a new world of work. Instead of each nation attempting to solve this puzzle on its own, a collaborative approach allows them to learn from one another's successes and failures. One country might develop a particularly effective model for an apprenticeship program that trains people to become AI system maintenance technicians. Through international forums and partnerships, the details of this successful program can be shared, studied, and adapted by other nations to fit their own unique circumstances. This quiet exchange of educational strategies accelerates the process of adaptation for everyone, creating a global learning community focused on building a skilled and resilient workforce. Finally, a smooth global transition requires a coordinated approach to international tax policy. As corporations become increasingly digital and operate seamlessly across the globe, the traditional methods of determining where their profits should be taxed become less clear. This has led to a calm and methodical conversation among the world's finance ministries to create a new and more equitable framework for the digital economy. The goal is to develop a fair and consistent system that ensures a portion of the immense value generated by global technology platforms is shared with the countries where their users and customers reside. This is a quiet and complex negotiation, a collaborative effort to update the world's financial plumbing to match the flow of value in a modern, automated, and interconnected economy. This ensures that the benefits of this new productivity are distributed in a stable and predictable way, supporting public services and social well-being around the world. The vast and intricate digital world that we navigate every day runs on a quiet and invisible fuel. This fuel is data. Every search query, every online purchase, every interaction with a digital service generates a small, unique piece of information. For decades, this data has been the raw material used to train artificial intelligence systems, allowing them to learn, improve, and provide the personalized services that have become a normal part of modern life. A new and quietly emerging idea, however, is beginning to reframe our relationship with this resource, viewing an individual's personal data not just as a byproduct of their activity, but as a new and distinct asset class that they themselves own and control. In the current model, this data is often exchanged for access to a free service. A person uses a social media platform or a search engine, and in return, the platform is able to use the anonymized data generated by that activity to improve its services and target advertising. The emerging concept of data ownership proposes a more direct and transparent relationship. It envisions a future where each individual has a secure, private, and personal data wallet. This is not a physical object, but a highly secure digital container that holds all the information an individual generates. This data would be encrypted and accessible only to its owner. The function of this data wallet would be to act as a personal clearinghouse for one's own information. Instead of companies collecting data passively, they would need to request it directly from the individual for a specific purpose. For example, a medical research institute might want to train an AI to identify early signs of a disease. They could send out a request to thousands of individual data wallets, asking for permission to use anonymized health data from wearable devices for a period of 6 months. The owner of the data wallet would receive this request, review the terms, and decide whether or not to grant access. If they agree, a smart contract would be created, a simple digital agreement that automatically enforces the terms. The anonymized data would be licensed for that specific research project only, and in exchange, a small micropayment would be deposited directly into the individual's account. This process would create a new, albeit small, passive income stream. The value of any single person's data is minimal, but when aggregated and licensed out for many different projects over time, it could become a quiet and consistent source of supplementary revenue. In essence, this is a quiet structural shift in the digital economy. It is a move from a model where data is a freely harvested commodity to one where it is a personal asset that can be managed, controlled, and licensed by its owner. This redefines personal data as a new form of property, a digital resource that, like any other asset, has the potential to generate a small and steady yield over time. This is a calm and logical evolution, a rebalancing of the digital world to give individuals a more direct stake in the value they help to create. The conceptual shift of personal data into a manageable asset brings with it a quiet and practical question. How does this new form of value actually flow through the economy? The monetization of data is not envisioned as a system of large, infrequent payments, but as a completely new kind of economic activity, a constant and gentle trickle of microscopic transactions that redefine our understanding of income and the nature of money itself. The financial infrastructure required to support this new economy would be highly automated and designed for immense scale. When an individual licenses a small, anonymized portion of their data through their secure wallet, the resulting payment might be a tiny fraction of a cent. A traditional banking system, with its associated fees and processing times, is not built to handle such small and numerous transactions efficiently. This is where the new forms of digital currency we have previously discussed come into play. A central bank digital currency, or a similar low-friction payment rail, would be perfectly suited to this task. It would allow for the instantaneous and virtually cost-free transfer of these micropayments. The result for the individual would be a new kind of financial experience. Their income would no longer arrive in discrete, monthly, or bi-weekly blocks. Instead, their personal data wallet would be in a state of constant, quiet activity. Every time their anonymized location data is used to help a city planner optimize traffic flow, a tiny payment appears. Every time their anonymized purchase history helps train an algorithm to predict retail trends, another small deposit is made. This creates a continuous passive stream of revenue, a quiet and steady financial current that flows in the background of their daily life. It is a form of income derived not from active labor, but from the simple act of participating in a digital society. This has a gentle but profound effect on the nature of money. Money becomes less of a static object, held in an account and spent in discrete chunks, and more of a dynamic flow. The individual's financial position is in a state of constant, slow, and predictable appreciation. This continuous trickle of value, accumulated over time from millions of tiny sources, would supplement other income streams, adding another layer of diversification and resilience to their financial foundation. It is a quiet and practical way of distributing a portion of the vast wealth generated by the data economy back to the individuals who create its most essential resource. In summary, the monetization of data is enabled by a new financial plumbing that can handle a high volume of micropayments. This creates a new form of income for individuals, a constant and passive stream of value derived from the licensing of their personal information. This quiet financial flow subtly changes our relationship with money, transforming it into a more dynamic and continuous resource. It is a logical and orderly evolution, a rebalancing that ensures the value generated by data flows in a more direct, transparent, and equitable way. The immense gains in productivity that artificial intelligence brings to the economy have a quiet and profound consequence that extends beyond the workplace and into the very rhythm of our daily lives. As machines become more capable of handling the routine and repetitive aspects of work, our relationship with both labor and leisure begins a slow and natural rebalancing. This is not a new phenomenon, but a recurring pattern that has accompanied every major technological advance in human history. The standard 40-hour 5-day workweek, a structure so familiar it feels permanent, is in fact a relatively recent invention. It was a direct consequence of the productivity gains of the Industrial Revolution. Before the age of machines, the vast majority of people worked from sunrise to sunset, 6 or 7 days a week, just to meet their basic needs. The invention of the steam engine and the factory assembly line allowed for the production of far more goods in far fewer hours. Over time, this created the economic surplus that made a 2-day weekend and an 8-hour workday a possibility for the first time. The technology didn't just change the nature of work, it fundamentally changed our concept of time. In a similar way, the quiet integration of AI into our professional lives creates a new surplus of time. When an AI can review a legal contract for standard clauses in a matter of seconds, or manage a complex project schedule automatically, it frees up the human worker's time for other tasks. A significant portion of this reclaimed time is reinvested in higher-value work, strategic planning, creative problem-solving, and building client relationships. However, as these efficiencies accumulate across an entire economy, it becomes possible to produce the same, or even greater, economic output with a reduced number of total hours worked. This opens the door to a gentle reimagining of the workweek itself. The rigid structure of the 9-to-5 day, a legacy of the factory floor, becomes less relevant in an economy that values focused, creative output over simple hours logged. This may lead to the gradual adoption of more flexible work arrangements, such as a 4-day workweek, or a more project-based approach, where work is organized into intense collaborative sprints followed by periods of rest and recovery. The result is an expansion of leisure time. This is not merely time for idleness, but a space for other forms of human flourishing. It is time that can be invested in lifelong learning, in mastering a musical instrument or a new language for the sheer joy of it. It is time for deeper engagement in one's local community, for volunteering, for coaching a children's sports team. And it is time for strengthening personal relationships, for caring for family members, and for the quiet, restorative activities that contribute to overall well-being. In essence, the great dividend of automation is not just economic, but temporal. It is the quiet and gradual return of our most finite and precious resource, time, allowing for a more balanced and well-rounded human experience. As the structure of the formal economy evolves, there is a quiet but growing recognition of a vast and parallel economy that has always existed, operating just beneath the surface of official metrics like gross domestic product. This is the economy of unpaid work, the countless hours of human effort dedicated to caring for others, managing a household, and strengthening a community. As automation frees up time from formal employment, the true economic value of these essential human activities becomes clearer and more appreciated. This unpaid work can be understood in a few distinct categories, each representing a vital contribution to societal well-being. The first is caregiving. This is the quiet, patient, and often invisible labor of raising children and caring for elderly or unwell family members. It is the work of preparing meals, helping with homework, providing transportation to appointments, and offering the emotional support that is the foundation of a healthy family. While this work does not come with a paycheck, its economic value is immense. It is the foundational labor that produces the next generation of healthy, well-adjusted citizens and workers, and it allows other family members to participate in the formal workforce. The second category is household management. This is the ongoing routine work of maintaining a clean, safe, and functional living environment. It includes the daily tasks of cleaning, laundry, and grocery shopping, as well as the less frequent but equally important work of home repairs, garden maintenance, and personal financial administration. If a household had to pay for all of these services on the open market, the cost would be substantial. This unpaid labor is a form of direct economic production that creates a stable and orderly environment for the members of the household to rest, recover, and thrive. The third category is community building. This is the voluntary work that weaves the social fabric of a neighborhood or a town. It is the time spent organizing a local food drive, volunteering at a school library, maintaining a community garden, or serving on the board of a local nonprofit organization. These activities create what economists call social capital, a reservoir of trust, cooperation, and mutual support that makes a community a healthier, safer, and more desirable place to live. A strong community with a high level of civic engagement often has lower crime rates and better public services, all of which have a tangible, positive economic impact. As the amount of time available for these activities expands, it represents a quiet and profound investment in the overall health of society. The immense productivity gains of the automated economy create the temporal space for a parallel flourishing of the human economy. This is a gentle rebalancing, a growing appreciation for the fact that a strong and prosperous society is built not just on the work that is measured in dollars and cents, but also on the quiet, unpaid, and essential labor of care, home, and community. The way societies measure and extend financial trust is also undergoing a quiet and data-driven evolution. The traditional system of credit, a cornerstone of modern finance, was built for a world of stable, long-term employment. A person's creditworthiness was often determined by a few simple, backward-looking metrics: their history of paying bills on time, the length of their credit history, and their current debt-to-income ratio based on a steady paycheck. As the world of work becomes more dynamic and income streams more varied, this old model is being gradually supplemented by new, more nuanced and forward-looking systems for assessing financial reliability. At the heart of this evolution is the ability of artificial intelligence to see a much broader and more detailed picture of an individual's financial life. Instead of relying on a single static credit score, new lending models can be built on a continuous and holistic analysis of a person's real-time financial behavior. An AI system can, with the user's explicit permission, analyze the cash flow in their bank account. It can see the quiet and consistent pattern of regular savings, the responsible management of a fluctuating income from freelance work, or the steady payment of rent and utilities over many years. These are all powerful indicators of financial discipline that are often invisible to a traditional credit report. This more comprehensive approach has a profound effect on financial inclusion. Many people who are perfectly capable of managing credit, such as young people with a short credit history, recent immigrants, or self-employed individuals with variable incomes, have historically found it difficult to access the traditional lending system. A data-driven model can look beyond the absence of a traditional credit file and see the tangible evidence of financial responsibility in a person's day-to-day banking activity. This allows for a more accurate and equitable assessment, quietly opening up access to fair and affordable credit for a much wider range of people. This evolution also gives rise to new and more flexible forms of lending. One such innovation is the concept of microlending for small, specific needs. Instead of taking out a large, long-term loan, an individual might need a small, short-term advance to cover the cost of a new laptop for their freelance business. A fintech platform can use AI to analyze their recent income and cash flow, approve the small loan in a matter of minutes, and set up a flexible repayment plan that aligns with their projected earnings. This is a quiet and practical form of just-in-time financing, designed to support the small, incremental investments that are characteristic of an entrepreneurial and project-based economy. In essence, the system of credit and lending is becoming more intelligent, more personalized, and more inclusive. It is a quiet and methodical shift from a static, one-size-fits-all model to a dynamic and data-rich one. By using AI to see a more complete picture of an individual's financial life, the new systems of credit can more accurately measure risk, expand access, and provide the flexible and responsive financial tools needed to navigate a more fluid world of work. The precise and quiet work of assessing financial risk is, at its core, an exercise in pattern recognition. For a lender, the central question is a simple one. What is the statistical probability that this loan will be repaid in a full and timely manner? Artificial intelligence, with its immense capacity for finding subtle patterns in vast datasets, is a tool perfectly suited for this methodical task. Its role is not to replace human judgment, but to provide it with a far more detailed, nuanced, and forward-looking map of an individual's financial landscape. The process begins with the data itself. A traditional credit assessment might be based on a few dozen data points. An AI-powered system, in contrast, can be trained to analyze thousands of different variables, creating a rich and multi-dimensional financial portrait. With a user's permission, the AI can look beyond simple payment history. It can observe the quiet signals of financial health, such as the consistency of positive cash flow in a bank account, even if the income itself is irregular. It can see the gradual and steady accumulation of a personal savings fund, a powerful indicator of discipline. It can even incorporate data on the timely payment of rent and utility bills, information that is often invisible to traditional credit bureaus, but is a clear and direct testament to an individual's reliability. The AI is trained on vast, anonymized historical datasets containing millions of past loans. Through this training process, it quietly learns the subtle statistical relationships between all of these different variables and the final outcome of the loan. It is not programmed with a simple set of rules. Instead, it discovers the complex and often non-obvious correlations that predict creditworthiness. It might learn, for example, that an individual who consistently maintains a small but stable buffer in their checking account is statistically less likely to default than someone with a higher income but a more volatile account balance. When presented with a new loan application, the AI does not make a simple yes or no decision. Instead, it performs a quiet and instantaneous calculation, producing a highly nuanced probability score. This score represents its best statistical estimate of the risk involved. This detailed output is then presented to a human loan officer, who acts as the final decision maker. The AI is an analytical partner, a powerful tool for illumination. It provides the human expert with a level of insight that would be impossible to achieve through manual review, allowing them to make a more informed, fair, and accurate judgment. A crucial part of this process is the ongoing and deliberate effort to ensure fairness and transparency. The development of these AI models involves a quiet and methodical process of testing for and mitigating potential biases in the data, ensuring that the assessments are based on financial behavior alone. The result of this careful calibration is a financial ecosystem that is more precise and more equitable. It is a quiet optimization of the process of trust, creating a system that is more attuned to the quiet realities of an individual's financial life. In the quiet and methodical process of building a resilient financial life, we often focus on the assets that can be measured on a balance sheet: cash, stocks, real estate. There is, however, a foundational asset that underpins all of these, one that is often overlooked in traditional financial planning. This is the asset of personal health and well-being. Investing in one's own physical and mental health is not a frivolous expense, but a core and rational component of a long-term strategy for financial security. The connection between health and finances is a quiet but direct one. Good health is the bedrock of personal productivity. It is the source of the energy, focus, and resilience needed to learn new skills, to engage in creative work, and to sustain effort over the long arc of a dynamic career. When a person is healthy, they are better able to take advantage of new opportunities and to navigate periods of transition with a clear and steady mind. This is a simple and practical reality. The quiet, consistent habits that support well-being are a direct investment in one's own human capital, the most valuable economic resource a person possesses. This investment is made through a series of small, deliberate, and routine choices. The first area of focus is preventative care. This is the calm and proactive practice of maintaining the body's systems to prevent future problems. It includes the routine of regular physical activity, a gentle walk, or a simple stretching routine, which maintains cardiovascular health and mobility. It is the deliberate choice of a balanced diet, rich in whole foods, which provides the essential nutrients for physical and cognitive function. And it is the discipline of adequate sleep, the quiet and essential period of nightly restoration that is critical for memory, mood, and immune function. Each of these is a small daily deposit into one's long-term health account. The second area of investment is in mental and emotional well-being. In an economy that places an increasing premium on creativity, collaboration, and complex problem-solving, a calm and focused mind is a significant professional asset. This involves the cultivation of quiet and restorative practices that help to manage stress and maintain a sense of balance. It might be a simple daily habit of mindfulness or meditation, a quiet 10 minutes to still the mind and observe one's thoughts without judgment. It could be the practice of journaling, the act of externalizing thoughts and feelings onto a page to gain clarity, Or it might simply be the discipline of setting aside regular, dedicated time for hobbies and activities that bring a sense of joy and fulfillment, completely separate from any professional goals. In summary, treating personal health as a core financial asset is a quiet and profound shift in perspective. It is the recognition that the small, consistent, and often uncostly habits of preventative care and mental well-being are among the most powerful investments a person can make. They are the foundational practices that preserve and enhance one's capacity to learn, to work, and to adapt. This quiet and steady stewardship of one's own well-being is not separate from a financial plan. It is the very engine that powers it. The quiet and consistent habits that support personal well-being are not only an investment in one's human capital, they also yield direct, tangible, and measurable financial returns over time. The practice of preventative care and wellness can be understood as a form of proactive financial management, a methodical strategy for reducing future liabilities and protecting one's most valuable economic assets. This is the simple and practical arithmetic of a well-tended life. The most direct financial benefit is the reduction of out-of-pocket healthcare expenditures. The cost of managing a chronic health condition, which often involves regular specialist visits, ongoing prescription medications, and potentially expensive medical procedures, can represent a significant and long-term drain on a household's financial resources. The quiet, daily practices of preventative care, a balanced diet, regular exercise, and stress management are the most effective tools for reducing the risk of developing many of these conditions in the first place. A small, consistent investment of time and attention in these habits today can translate into the avoidance of substantial medical bills in the future. It is the simple financial wisdom of maintaining a machine to prevent a costly breakdown. Beyond these direct savings, there are significant indirect financial benefits. The first of these is the protection of one's income stream. Lost productivity due to illness, both in the form of sick days taken and reduced effectiveness while at work, has a real and quantifiable economic cost. A person who maintains a high level of health and energy is simply able to be more present, focused, and productive in their professional life. This consistency is particularly valuable in a project-based or freelance economy, where income is often directly tied to output. Good health is a quiet and powerful form of income insurance. Furthermore, some financial systems are beginning to directly recognize and reward these healthy habits. A growing number of health and life insurance providers, for example, offer tangible financial incentives for preventative care. This can take the form of lower monthly premiums for non-smokers, or discounts and rewards for individuals who can demonstrate consistent physical activity, tracked through a wearable device. These are small but direct financial signals, a clear acknowledgement from the market that a healthy individual represents a lower financial risk. In summary, the financial case for preventative care is built upon a foundation of quiet and irrefutable logic. It is a strategy that works on multiple levels simultaneously. It directly reduces future medical expenses. It protects and stabilizes one's current income by minimizing time lost to illness, and it can even lead to lower insurance costs. The small, routine, and often cost-free choices made each day in the service of one's well-being are, in effect, a form of slow and steady financial accumulation. It is a quiet, powerful, and deeply personal way of building a more resilient and secure financial future. As the productive capacity of our automated systems continues its quiet and steady expansion, a subtle but profound shift occurs in our collective sense of what is truly scarce and therefore what is truly valuable. When the material goods and digital services that once defined wealth become abundant and easily accessible, our economic and cultural focus naturally begins to gravitate toward the things that machines cannot provide. This is not a formal or organized movement, but a quiet and organic philosophical shift, a rebalancing of our priorities toward the value of human-centric services. This shift is rooted in a simple economic principle. The value of any good or service is determined by its utility and its scarcity. As technology makes an ever wider range of products and analytical services less scarce, the economic premium they command gently declines. At the same time, the things that are inherently limited by the finitude of human time and attention become, by contrast, more rare and more valuable. This creates a new and distinct human economy that operates in parallel with the automated economy, specializing in the services that are defined by their interpersonal, creative, and empathetic qualities. We can see the quiet emergence of this economy in the changing patterns of consumption. As the portion of a household's budget needed for manufactured goods decreases, more resources are freed up for experiences. People may choose to spend their money not on a new electronic device, but on a meal at a restaurant known for its innovative chef, or a series of classes with a skilled yoga instructor. They are not just purchasing a product. They are paying for the expertise, the ambiance, and the direct personal attention of another human being. This is a quiet and rational allocation of resources toward the things that provide a deeper and more lasting sense of fulfillment. This revaluation extends into the world of work. The skills that become most economically rewarded are those that are most difficult to automate. These are the skills of care, of mentorship, of creative expression, and of deep human connection. The empathetic caregiver who can provide comfort to an elderly person, the inspiring teacher who can ignite a student's curiosity, and the skilled artisan who can create a unique, handcrafted object. These roles become more central and more valued. The work of these individuals is not just a service. It is an experience, a direct and meaningful interaction that is inherently personal and unscalable. In essence, the rise of the automated economy does not devalue humanity. It clarifies what is uniquely human. It is a quiet and persistent force that is pushing us to reconsider our definitions of value, of work, and of a well-lived life. As machines take over the tasks of routine production and analysis, they free up a vast amount of human potential to focus on the things that have always been at the core of our nature: creativity, community, and care. This is not a retreat from progress, but the next logical step in our collective economic and philosophical journey. As the economy quietly reorients itself around a new definition of value, two specific sectors emerge as areas of significant and sustainable growth: the care economy and the creative economy. These are not new fields of work, but they take on a new and heightened importance in a world where routine tasks are increasingly automated. They are the twin pillars of a more human-centric economic landscape, each representing a deep and enduring category of human need. The care economy is the vast and essential sector dedicated to the nurturing, development, and well-being of people. It encompasses a wide range of professions, from early childhood education and elder care to physical therapy, mental health counseling, and personal coaching. The work in this sector is defined by its deep interpersonal nature. It is built on a foundation of empathy, patience, and the ability to build a relationship of trust. An AI can provide a wealth of information, but it cannot replicate the gentle encouragement of a physical therapist guiding a patient through a difficult rehabilitation, or the nuanced, compassionate listening of a skilled counselor. As societies become more prosperous and populations age, the demand for these high-quality, human-led care services is set to grow steadily and predictably. This is a quiet and powerful engine of future employment, a sector that is inherently resistant to automation. The creative economy, in parallel, is the sector built on human imagination, ingenuity, and aesthetic judgment. This includes the traditional arts, such as music, writing, and visual art, but it also extends to a wide range of commercial fields, from artisanal craftsmanship and experience design to scientific research and innovative entrepreneurship. The common thread that unites these diverse activities is the creation of novelty. An AI can be a powerful tool within this sector, a digital assistant that can generate drafts or explore variations on a theme. However, the core act of true creation, the initial spark of a new idea, the formulation of a unique artistic vision, or the strategic insight that leads to a new business model, remains a profoundly human endeavor. In a world of mass-produced abundance, the value of that which is unique, authentic, and beautifully crafted naturally rises. The demand for original art, bespoke goods, and uniquely designed experiences represents a significant and growing area of economic activity. In essence, the care and creativity sectors represent the two primary domains where human skills will retain a durable and growing economic premium. One is focused on the internal world of human well-being, the other on the external world of human expression and innovation. Both are defined by the very qualities that are most difficult to digitize: empathy, intuition, and originality. The quiet and steady growth of these two sectors is not a sign of economic stagnation, but of a mature and prosperous society that has the resources to invest in its own deepest needs and aspirations. It is the logical and healthy evolution of an economy that is learning to value its people as much as its productivity. The practical application of all the economic and technological shifts we have explored can be imagined most clearly in the quiet and simple financial routines of a person's daily life. In the near future, our relationship with money will not be one of periodic stressful check-ins, but a calm, continuous, and integrated awareness, managed by gentle and intelligent digital tools that operate quietly in the background. A person's day might begin not with an alarm, but with a soft light that gradually brightens the room. On a simple, uncluttered screen beside the bed, a personal financial assistant displays a quiet morning greeting. It does not show a single, stark bank balance. Instead, it presents a simple, visual representation of the financial activity that occurred while they slept. It is a calm and gentle flow. A few cents have trickled in from the licensing of anonymized personal data. A small dividend has been paid from a long-term investment fund, and a micropayment has arrived from a global client who used a piece of their creative work. The day begins with a quiet affirmation of a financial life that is active, diversified, and constantly, gently accumulating. Throughout the day, this financial awareness remains ambient and unobtrusive. When making a purchase at a local market, the payment is seamless. The personal assistant, operating on a smartphone, quietly logs the transaction in the background. It is not intrusive, but if asked, it can provide a simple context. This grocery purchase is well within your monthly food budget, and you are on track with your spending plan. The system is not a restriction, but a calm and supportive source of clarity, providing the right information at the right moment to enable mindful decisions. The nature of work itself is integrated into this financial flow. A person might spend a few hours in the morning working on a project for a client. Upon completing a key milestone, they mark it as finished in their project management software. This simple action triggers a smart contract, which automatically verifies the completion of the work and releases the client's payment. This payment does not arrive as a single lump sum. Instead, it is instantly and automatically partitioned according to a preset plan. A portion is sent to a dedicated tax account, another portion is routed to a diversified investment portfolio, and the remainder flows into the main spending account. The entire process of invoicing, payment, and allocation is automated, a quiet and reliable financial plumbing that just works. In the evening, a brief, optional review concludes the day. The financial assistant presents a simple, one-page summary. It shows the day's income flows, the day's expenditures, and the quiet, incremental progress toward long-term savings goals. There are no complex charts or urgent alerts, only a clear and orderly picture of a financial life that is well managed and moving in the desired direction. This is the quiet evolution of personal finance, a shift from periodic anxiety to continuous, calm awareness. It is a future where our financial tools are designed not to demand our attention, but to support our intentions, making the stewardship of our resources a peaceful and integrated part of our daily rhythm. The personal financial tools of the near future will function less like a manual calculator and more like a quiet and diligent household manager, working tirelessly in the background to maintain order and optimize for a set of long-term goals. These automated systems, powered by artificial intelligence, will not make decisions for us, but will instead act as our personal chief financial officer, methodically executing a strategy that we ourselves have designed. The process of setting up such a system would be a single, thoughtful, and intentional act. An individual would securely connect their various financial accounts, checking, savings, investments, loans, and credit cards, into one unified and private dashboard. Then, they would define their high-level financial goals in simple, natural language. I would like to save enough for a down payment on a house in the next 7 years. Or, my goal is to be debt-free, except for my mortgage within 4 years. These goals provide the AI with its core instructions, its quiet and unwavering mandate. From that moment on, the tool's work is continuous, automated, and almost entirely invisible. It becomes a silent steward of the user's financial life, performing a series of small, constant optimizations. It quietly analyzes cash flow, identifying patterns in income and spending. If it notices a small, recurring subscription for a service that has not been used in several months, it might send a gentle, non-urgent notification, a simple and helpful query. If it detects a small surplus of cash sitting idle in a low-interest checking account at the end of the month, it will, according to the user's preset rules, automatically sweep that amount into a higher-yield savings account or a long-term investment fund. For those with a goal of reducing debt, the tool will methodically execute their chosen strategy. After all minimum payments are made, it will automatically direct any additional available funds to the loan with the highest interest rate, a quiet and optimal process that requires no ongoing thought or effort from the user. In the realm of investments, the AI will act as a disciplined portfolio manager. Once a year, it might perform a quiet rebalancing, selling a small portion of assets that have performed well and grown to be an oversized part of the portfolio, and buying more of the assets that are underweight, ensuring the portfolio stays aligned with the user's long-term risk tolerance. The role of the individual in this relationship is elevated from that of a day-to-day bookkeeper to that of a high-level supervisor. They are no longer bogged down in the minutiae of transfers, calculations, and manual reallocations. Instead, their task is to set the overall direction and to review the system's progress during quiet, periodic check-ins. The ultimate benefit of these automated tools is not just the mathematical optimization of one's finances, but the profound sense of calm and clarity that comes from knowing that the small, important, and repetitive details are being handled with quiet, reliable, and unemotional precision. As we draw the threads of our exploration together, a quiet and consistent picture of the future begins to emerge. It is not a world of stark opposition between humans and machines, but one of a calm, practical, and deeply integrated partnership. The standard operating procedure in nearly every field of work will be a seamless collaboration between human intelligence and artificial intelligence, a quiet and efficient synthesis where each partner contributes its unique and complementary strengths. We can imagine the daily routine of a skilled architect in this near future. Her day begins not with a blank page, but with a conversation. She describes the high-level vision for a new community library to her AI design partner. I'm imagining a building that feels open and full of natural light, with sustainable materials and flexible spaces that can be reconfigured for different community events. The AI, acting as a tireless research assistant, instantly scours a vast global database of architectural plans, zoning regulations, and material science data. Within minutes, it generates a dozen different initial 3D models, each a viable and structurally sound interpretation of her initial vision. The architect's work then begins. Her role is not that of a draftsman, but of a curator and a creative director. She quietly examines the AI's proposals, her trained eye looking for the subtle and intangible qualities that the machine cannot yet grasp. The emotional resonance of a particular roofline, the intuitive flow of movement between spaces, the way a building will feel as a person walks through it. She selects the most promising model and begins a process of refinement. Using simple, verbal commands and gestures, she works with the AI as if it were a highly skilled apprentice. Raise the ceiling in the main reading room by 2 meters, and show me how that changes the light at 4-page M in the winter. The AI performs the complex calculations and instantly updates the model. This collaborative loop continues throughout the design process. The AI handles the technical, computational, and repetitive tasks with quiet and inhuman speed. It runs thousands of simulations to optimize the building's energy efficiency, it automatically generates the detailed construction blueprints, and it ensures that every component of the design complies with the local building code. This frees the architect to focus entirely on the aspects of the work that are uniquely human. She spends her time considering the building's role in the community, collaborating with local stakeholders, and making the final, nuanced aesthetic and strategic judgments that transform a mere structure into a meaningful and beloved public space. This is not a story of a human being replaced, but of a human being empowered. The AI is a tool, a remarkably powerful and intelligent one, that amplifies the architect's own creativity and expertise. This quiet and symbiotic partnership is the template for the future of work. It is a model where the machine manages the complexity of the how, allowing the human to focus on the deep and essential purpose of the why. The long and quiet arc of economic history tells a consistent story. Each major technological wave, from the printing press to the steam engine to the internet, has brought with it a period of profound change, followed by a slow and steady period of societal adaptation. The immense wealth and productivity unlocked by the new technology are gradually and methodically woven into the fabric of society, ultimately leading to a new and more prosperous equilibrium. The long-term outlook for an economy integrated with artificial intelligence follows this same quiet and predictable pattern, leading toward a future that is not only more productive, but also more balanced and equitable. This new balance is achieved through several quiet interlocking mechanisms. The first is the simple and direct effect of the Manny's productivity dividend. As AI and automation make the production of goods and digital services vastly more efficient, their costs steadily decline. This acts as a gentle, persistent, and universal form of wealth distribution. The purchasing power of every individual's income quietly increases as the portion of their budget needed to acquire the material necessities and digital tools of modern life becomes smaller. This creates a broader foundation of material well-being for everyone. Upon this foundation, a new and more diversified income structure is built. The traditional model of a single, lifelong career is gradually supplemented by a more resilient and multifaceted approach. As we have explored, this includes the quiet growth of the human-centric care and creative economies, where the unique value of human empathy and ingenuity commands a premium. It is also supported by the emergence of new, passive income streams, such as the small but continuous value generated from the controlled licensing of personal data. The result is a personal financial structure that is less like a single, tall pillar, and more like a wide, stable platform supported by multiple legs. This individual adaptation is met by a parallel evolution in our collective social structures. The social safety net quietly modernizes to become more flexible and portable, better suited to a world of project-based work and lifelong learning. Educational systems evolve to become continuous and personalized, providing a constant and accessible pathway for individuals to acquire new skills throughout their lives. These are not radical or sudden changes, but the calm and logical adjustments of a society that is methodically updating its operating system to match the needs of a new era. In the long term, the destination of this quiet journey is a balanced and dual-sided economy. One side is a hyper-efficient automated sector, a quiet and powerful engine that provides material abundance for all. The other side is a thriving and vibrant human economy, which uses the time and resources freed up by automation to focus on the things that give life its deepest meaning: care, connection, creativity, and community. The final outcome of this profound technological shift is not a world made for machines, but a world made more humane. A quiet rebalancing that allows for a fuller and richer expression of our collective potential. As our journey through the quiet currents of economic change draws to a close, the many threads we have explored can be woven together into a simple, coherent, and empowering tapestry of action. Future-proofing one's financial life is not a complex or urgent race, but a calm and methodical process of building resilience through a series of quiet, consistent, and proactive habits. The very foundation of this resilience is a personal commitment to continuous, lifelong learning. This is a gentle, two-pronged practice. The first part is the steady acquisition of technical fluency, the quiet work of becoming a competent and confident user of the new tools, including artificial intelligence, that are reshaping one's profession. The second, parallel part is the deep and deliberate cultivation of the enduring human skills that technology complements but cannot replace. Nuanced judgment, genuine creativity, and advanced emotional intelligence. This quiet and consistent investment in one's own capabilities is the most fundamental and durable asset of all. Upon this foundation of adaptable skills, a sturdy and timeless financial house is built. This construction begins with the simple and powerful act of creating a personal ledger, a quiet map of one's financial world that provides essential clarity. With this map, the foundational pillars can be methodically put in place: the creation of a robust emergency fund to act as a financial cushion, the systematic reduction of high-interest debt to increase flexibility, and the disciplined, automated habit of saving and investing for the long term, preferably in simple, well-diversified, and low-cost funds. With the foundation secure, the structure is then made more resilient through the principle of diversification, applied not only to investments but to income as well. This is the quiet and deliberate process of cultivating multiple, smaller streams of revenue that are independent of a primary job. This can be achieved through freelance work on digital platforms, the creation of a small business leveraging new and accessible tools, or the quiet monetization of personal assets or skills. Each new stream is another pillar of support, making the entire structure less vulnerable to any single point of failure. Finally, this entire approach is supported by a broader and more holistic view of wealth. It recognizes the tangible value of physical assets like real estate and the stabilizing role of timeless stores of value. Most importantly, it elevates personal health and well-being to its rightful place as a core economic asset, understanding that the quiet, daily habits of preventative care are a direct and powerful investment in one's long-term productivity and financial security. In summary, the path to a future-proofed financial life is a mosaic of these simple, interconnected practices. It is a quiet commitment to learning, a disciplined approach to the fundamentals of personal finance, a patient strategy of diversification, and a deep respect for the value of one's own well-being. These are not grand gestures, but the small, steady, and empowering steps that, taken together, build a life of quiet confidence and enduring adaptability. The journey through this changing economic landscape ends where it began, with a quiet and empowering sense of calm. The future we have explored is not a destination to be feared, but a quiet and steady evolution, a rebalancing of our tools, our work, and our values. The path to financial resilience is not a single heroic leap, but a series of small, deliberate, and manageable steps. It is the gentle and consistent practice of a few simple, timeless principles, each one a quiet affirmation of one's own adaptability and foresight. The core of this journey is a simple realignment. It is a quiet turning of our attention away from the things we cannot control, the precise pace of technological change, the short-term fluctuations of the market, and toward the things that are entirely within our stewardship. This is the calm and focused work of cultivating our own personal garden, tending to our skills, managing our resources with care, diversifying our plantings, and nurturing the soil of our own well-being. We have seen that the very technologies that create this change also provide us with the tools to navigate it. They offer new platforms for learning, new avenues for creating independent income, and new, intelligent systems for managing our finances with a quiet and automated precision. They are not adversaries, but powerful and accessible partners in the project of building a secure and fulfilling life. The ultimate outcome of this quiet economic evolution is a world of greater abundance. It is a world where the fruits of automated productivity make the necessities of life more accessible, freeing up human time and energy for a new and deeper purpose. This purpose is found in the work that only humans can do, the work of care, of creativity, of community, and of connection. The most profound promise of this future is not just a more efficient economy, but a more humane one. And so, the final thought is one of profound and simple reassurance. The path forward is not a mystery. It is a quiet and steady process of learning, building, diversifying, and caring for oneself and others. By embracing this patient and methodical approach, a person can build a financial life that is not brittle, but flexible, not precarious, but resilient. This is the foundation of true financial peace. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are prepared, a steady and calming presence that allows for a deep and untroubled rest.